Hey, what up, everybody? Welcome to Friday Snacks. Not saying financial advice, not entertainment purposes only. All that stuff. Twitter Space Call, episode 40.
Able to see it. And yeah, I'll be right back. I'm going to go comment and ask Elon Musk to join us. Hey, Spence. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Howdy. How's it going?
I can hear you.
Oh, good. I forgot. I'm going to pin up the tweet that I was talking about regarding the Twitter situation and what's going on.
I see your boyfriend tweeted back at you again today. You need to be like,
yeah, my boyfriend.
You need to.
I'm like, who? Who's my boyfriend? Oh, Elon Musk? No, he's not my boyfriend.
We need to make.
He's more like my daddy.
We need to make more babies, and I need a Cybertruck. So if you could just hook that up, that'd be great.
Wait, so I have to like pop out a kid to get you a Cybertruck? Yep. And what do I get out of this? 18 years of raising Elon Musk's child on my own because he's too busy with his many jobs?
The honor and glory of saving the human population from
depopulation. Okay, that's right.
And I'll save the environment by driving Cybertruck.
Maybe he'll give me a couple. Maybe he'll give me twins. Like he gave that other girl twins. I mean, that's only fair, right?
The good news is they'll have a very unique name, so you got that going for it.
One that I probably cannot pronounce. I can't even imagine. PJ's up here to yell at you guys, by the way, because as you may or may not know, Elon Musk is PJ's man. I'm not trying to, get in between that.
Hey, Tara, whatever it takes, girl. But I just wanted to tell you, I read an amazing tweet today about the DOJ investigation and how it went from smaller companies to Amazon and whoever else is up there, JP Morgan. And I pinned it to the top. I think everybody should read it. It really gave me pause to understand the breadth of the investigation, or what is believed to be the breadth of the investigation. And it's huge. It is huge. It seems like they started out real small and then they just dug and dug and dug. And it seems like they could be very well in shock about what they're finding. And I'm pumped over it.
I think they're finding everything we've been talking about for 16 months.
Totally. I agree 100%, Spence.
Like, it's impossible not to find it if you actually look.
Well, the thing you have to think about is you put yourself in the prime broker's shoes. Their goal is to buy the stock as low as possible and sell it to people as high as possible, right? I mean, that's essentially their goal. So they see these short sellers as teammates because they may even be entrapping them at times, like they know that the people are going to sell those shares short that they lend out, and they might be the ones even buying them from them if it's time for them to bring the price back up. They get to have both sides of the book. They know everything. They know where the stock is going. They get to control that. They can recall the shares whenever they want. So, if you think about it in those terms, like how do they make money? It makes complete sense. I'm not trying to justify it, but it's just how the system is, because they can lend out shares as much as they want because some of them have market making abilities. They're allowed to sell short to quote unquote provide liquidity when there isn't any, rather than actually have price go up because there isn't liquidity. They create liquidity, false liquidity, just to keep prices stable, because that really makes sense. Most markets work that, if there aren't enough bananas in the grocery store is going to up the price of bananas. No, what they do is they make synthetic bananas all they want and just pump them out and say, yeah, sure, here's a banana. We'll give you one when we we'll find one for you. It's an IOU, and that's the system. That is the New York Stock Exchange. That is the stock market, and that's where it is right now.
So I wanted to say that the reason that I started this space was to have a couple speakers. Well, Pete from Philly, who most of you are probably familiar with at this point. And then also a friend of mine who I met in another space, Hamid, here he is, awesome, who was very vocal. He comes with quite a bit of experience in the markets, not necessarily meme stocks, if you will, but experience with, short selling, and just had some very inspiring things to say, in my opinion. That's why I asked him and Pete specifically if they would come on. And then obviously Spence, Swing, PJ, Flip's up here with his hand up, so we'll get to him next. And just several of you who, we all, I feel, have similar views as far as short selling goes, and some of the things that they do behind the scenes that a lot of people aren't even aware of. And apparently there's going to be some rules coming down the line, as far as reporting goes. We'll see if that helps in any way, shape, or form, or if they just find a way to kind of weasel themselves around that. But let's get to Flip's hand, and then I want to do like a quick introduction of Hamid, and then hopefully Pete, you have some time to stick around and talk as well. Just love your insight and love the stories that you share. And sometimes it's happened later in the evening when the spaces are a bit, smaller. People have kind of trickled out, and I really wanted you kind of at the top of the hour to share some of your experiences in, your long reign in the stock market as well. So we'll get to.
I'm around for a bit.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Pete. Flip, go for it. You had your hand up.
Tara, I'll be real quick. I just wanted to get up here and congratulate you. You are freaking a beast. The fact that yesterday there was some memes going around, not I don't know, just some BS in the community as always. But then today for Elon to tweet a popcorn emoji, which was already huge, and then coincidentally responding to you, probably one of the loudest voices, if not the loudest voice for Twitter, for AMC on Twitter. Then we have the market crash today, along with HYMC, the only green ticker on my list, just going bananas. I mean, this day we have a lot to celebrate, especially this group right here. And I just wanted to get up here and say, thank God you're doing what you're doing and you still stay the course, along with Spence, PJ, Swing, the people, then the OGs of this group right here that continue to put in the work. Soik, I see you down there. Keep hosting those calls, Buzz. Anyways, just want to say great work. And the fact that Elon's responding to you will bring in so many more eyes to AMC, HYMC, and then what we're going to talk about today is this nefarious activity with short selling is just a huge congratulations. So that's all I want to say.
Why, thank you kindly. I appreciate it. I felt like a dummy because I woke up early for the market, fell back asleep when everything was just horrible, and decided I was depressed and gonna sleep through it. And then slept way too long. Didn't even know Elon Musk had replied to me. His notifications don't work. I do have his notifications on, and half the time I don't see them. I do believe that Twitter is heavily suppressing him. Now they really have a reason to, if they didn't already. So yeah, there's that. But they definitely, we know now, especially after Mark Zuckerberg coming out in regard to Facebook and things that they suppressed during the election times and all of that, we definitely know now that they are willing and able to do those things, and even being told by the FBI to do those things. So it's really interesting and honestly sad to watch this happen with someone like Elon Musk, who has such a large reach and such a large following and fan base, just completely trying to push him down in the algos, keep him completely suppressed, keep his tweets off of people's screens. I don't know, what benefit they see in doing that, but to me and to most people, it just raises a lot more red flags, and people just go find his profile, which when I searched for his profile today, I couldn't even find it. So that's how bad it's gotten. Let's go to Carol really quick, and then Hamid has the floor.
Hi, thanks, Tara. How are you? Haven't talked to you in a long time. I just
Yeah,
have some
so well.
amazing news to share today. I'm so excited. I'm so over the moon. Adam Aron followed me today. I'm like, what? Just a little ape me? So I'm pretty pumped. Just wanted to share that.
Let's go. That's awesome, Carol. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's so cool. It feels
that's
good to be followed by the CEO of the company that you're like
Right?
out here repping.
I'm just like a
That's so
baby
cool.
ape, you know? Like, what the heck? But I don't care if it went a little red today. I got that, man. I'm happy.
Hey, that's how he's keeping you hanging on. He's like, wait, the stock's red. Follow Carol. She'll stay. She'll stay. She's not
Exactly.
going anywhere. No, that's
Exactly.
awesome.
Okay,
Congratulations, girl. That's
Thanks,
awesome.
Sarah. Thanks for the space. Thanks, Vince. Okay.
All right, let's get to it. Hamid, I don't know if you want to just introduce yourself or if that's putting you on the spot. I know you host your own spaces, so you do you. I'm going to give you the floor.
Tara, thanks for the invitation. And it was a pleasure actually talking with you the other day. I think we stumbled on a discussion around short sellers, which triggered me to go on a rant about short sellers in general and how I think short selling should be illegal. And we talked about potentially facilitating a conversation around short sellers and short selling in general as a discussion topic. One of my biggest problems with short selling is the abundance of false information that short sellers create with basically impunity. Like there is no way to sort of take them down or prosecute them for the false information that they put out there in their own self-interests, essentially, and they can do that in groups and essentially cause a company to go bankrupt as a result of tying their ability to raise funds or just operate their business under normal circumstances. Companies are have a harder time being able to sell their products, raise money, recruit others as a result of stock price being suppressed and as falsely suppressed, and as a result of their market caps essentially getting crushed based on short seller activity. So it just seems like an activity that is not very friendly in a sort of capitalist type of environment. It seems like it should be illegal. I don't understand the arguments for it. I hear people argue that like short sellers are the reason we know about Enron. The Enrons of the world does not justify all of the legit companies that are also getting crushed in the years. And I've done really well in the stock market. I've started a couple of software companies as well. I've done well in those. I recently had a couple of exits, and I've started another software company called Savvy Trader. So feel free to ask me anything you want about investing or short selling or whatever other topics. Thanks, Tara.
Thank you so much for agreeing to come onto this space. And yeah, you and I definitely saw eye to eye. Obviously not on everything, but that doesn't necessarily make a difference. I mean, what we decide, to go long on or trade, it doesn't, that is so beside the point. And that's what I appreciated so much about your space is a lot of times anyone who supports AMC or GME, I've seen this sort of rhetoric or this sort of idea that we are lumped into this crowd of inexperienced traders. We don't know what we're doing. Certain commentary that, goes along with being long on AMC. And I respected so much the fact that you gave me the floor. You let me stay up on your space. You treated me just as any other speaker who is long on any other ticker. So I just want to say I appreciate that. And yeah, we definitely see eye to eye on short selling. My question really quick, and then others can ask as well if you guys are wanting to. Is so you stated that the way that they're able to go about things, they can drive a company to go out of business, and that's been the big argument with so many short sellers on Twitter and different places, is that no, we don't put companies out of business. That's not what we do, yada yada. So I just wanted to kind of reiterate that point that you just made, which is a point that a lot of us have stated and then been argued with, and the clapping back against that, but you do believe that they're capable of putting good companies out of business by running these sort of short and distort campaigns.
Yeah, there's no question about it, because what happens is they suppress a company's ability to be able to raise additional funds, right? Tesla was a great example of that in 2019 when a few things were going wrong. Model 3 production ramp was taking longer than expected. And when things are taking longer than expected, what does a company do? Well, they need more money to be able to operate their business until they reach the sort of goals that they have. And in 2018 and 19, basically the short sellers were doubling down on false information, creating fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and literally putting out misinformation about Tesla in order to suppress its stock price as much as possible, and predicting that it was going to go down to zero. And it could have gone down to zero if not literally for Elon Musk sleeping at the freaking factories. But that shouldn't be what it takes to be able to sort of like get out of that type of situation. What he should have been able to do is just raise more money to give him more time, right? And they were taking that ability of being able to raise more money to get more time to execute out of his hands. And that happens all the time. It's happening right now with another EV company called Arcimoto. Arcimoto, for the past year and a half or so, has been shorted as much as 50% of its stock has been shorted, essentially like creating a flood of shares that don't even exist. And the additional problem with short selling is that the numbers are not even accurate. First of all, you cannot obtain up-to-the-minute information on the volume of shorts. It's always at least 2 weeks old. And then when you do obtain the information, it's not even fully trustworthy, because it's self-report. It's like it's very shady. You cannot even find information about where the authoritative information about short selling quantities are. So it's just a number of problems on top of one another that creates this environment that makes it really, really difficult for companies to raise funds. And not being able to raise money to be able to, pay for expenses that allows you to live longer as a company to reach certain goals literally causes companies to go bankrupt. And by the way, a quick point about your comments about AMC and GameStop. Those are perfect examples of companies that were the short sellers were causing a very accelerated doom, essentially, for these companies way before their time. When you looked at GameStop, for example, I was never a GameStop shareholder, and I still am not. But when I saw the price of GameStop reach like $100 a share, that's when I first started taking note last year. And I was like, what the hell is going on? How is this possible? And when I looked at the company's valuation, even at $100 a share, I remember being surprised at the overall valuation compared to its revenue. I was like, well, wait, $100 a share is actually not that bad, considering like Zoom is being valued at like 50 times revenues. How is it that people are like freaking out about GameStop being valued at like a couple of times revenues, or 1 or 2 times revenues at the time? I don't remember what it was exactly, but that's after it had increased like 50-fold from $2 a share. So the reality was that at $2 a share, the price was insanely cheap. It should have never been at $2 a share. And it was only at $2 a share because of the ridiculous amount of short selling that was occurring for that stock. And of course, the short squeeze caused this massive run up. Same type of thing, I think, happened with AMC. Now, I haven't been a shareholder of either of those companies, I haven't participated in those rises, but in a way, I'm like, I should have been paying way more attention to some of these companies that have been way overly shorted, because the moment that somebody recognizes something is wrong here, it can create these huge run-ups. So that's another comment that I wanted to make about that. And you were absolutely right that these, as they're being sort of labeled meme stockholders, they're not necessarily uneducated with respect to the stock market. A lot of them actually know what the hell they're doing. I've been very impressed by many of them. So kudos to you, Tara, for sticking it out and being able to stand your ground and argue your points. So great job.
PJ, are you going up? Are you going for it, girl?
Yes, please. I just want to point out two things. It breaks my heart when I see a company, when I used to be able to see when the NYSE would tweet that a brand new company was going public, and people take their company public to the capital markets to raise capital, not to get shorted into the ground because they're a little wonky at first. This is not about price discovery. It is not about anything but full on greed. And I let the NYSE know that in a tweet, and I was promptly blocked by the New York Stock Exchange. This kills me. And I just wish that smaller companies would not go public, that they would just continue to raise their funds, because these people believe in their clinical trials, they believe in their products, and then they become disillusioned when they can't raise a damn dime because of the shorts. Secondly, I think it's mind-boggling when I was watching the Dow the market just fall off a cliff today. Why can't we have a simple rule in place? If you don't want to report your shorts, don't. Who cares? We should have a simple rule in place that when the market is down more than 2%, that they need to stop. Short selling is over. No exempt, nothing exempt, nothing. Short selling stops at 2 or 2.5%. Because what happens is when they start to short, then retail gets afraid and they sell, and then they short it. I mean, they made billions today. Well, everybody else who couldn't play the downside lost out. And this just drives me crazy. I really can't stand them. And I'm sorry to go on a rant, but they're just disgusting to me when it's abusive like this.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, PJ, honestly. And I think that's why so many of us have stuck around. And like Hamid said, we're digging our heels in. We're not leaving. And, it's mostly short sellers who have wanted me personally to get off Twitter, to stop doing spaces, to stop talking about their game and exposing them. And this is exactly why. They don't want a discussion like this happening and, cross table talk. I mean, here we have Hamid on, and he isn't invested in AMC or GME or meme stocks, if you will, but he's still an advocate for the things that we stand for. And that is what we need to do, in my opinion, is continue to branch out and find those people, because they do exist. So, Spence, let's go to you, Mr. Co-host, with your hand up.
Yeah. Part of this, what I think people are really missing with the short sellers, is these institutions who are shorting have become so powerful and so overreaching that they control every aspect of the business, from technicals through the media. One, I think if everybody was forced to report their short positions, 90% of these people who are shorting would not do it anymore. Big institutions would be too scared to short because everybody would know where their hand's at in the play. Therefore, they lose the advantage. Two, what's up?
Ding, 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 ding. That's correct.
Two, they have these sock puppet board members. What they do is Citadel will go out, start spinoff companies or call friends, and they'll put money in. They'll invest into these companies long to get a seat on the board. They'll get the minimum they need, the 5% or 7% or whatever it is. And then these new board members who get positions will destroy the company from the inside out, like Steven Colanero was doing with AMC. We called that months ago, like 10 months ago in a space call, and people came at me for attacking a board member. And I said, this dude used to run Blockbuster and freaking Radio Shack before they went out of business. Why is he on the board of directors? So he went
And
from
WAMU.
Yeah. That point in time, he did nothing but sell every single share he had all the way up until AMC said, oh, yeah, he's leaving. They didn't give him a trophy. They didn't give him a pat on the back. They said he's retiring. So it's really important to know that these big institutions who are shorting these companies are putting board members in place to disrupt from the inside. And then the third thing is they also own the media companies. They call up freaking Wedbush and get a Lisa Reich to jump on and say all this nonsense about AMC we know is false because she's a no-name reporter. Well, guess who's deeply embedded in Wedbush? Multiple former Citadel employees. So they put people on the inside. They destroy the company. They hold the CEOs and other board members basically hostage by blackmail. Then the MSN comes out and reports that, AMC is doing the worst it's ever done in 100 years. It's going out of business. It's going bankrupt. When in reality, the U.S. Congress, who has lobbying money, was told not to support AMC during the pandemic. So it's not just that short selling's bad. It's that it's fundamentally illegal in what they're doing with the short and distort process. And it's literally tantamount to corporate espionage, in my opinion. Rant complete.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I mean, you have to remember what happened when Bill Ackman and what's his name, Carl Icahn went to war. You know, Bill Ackman announced his short, and Carl Ackman said, "Oh yeah, really? I'm going to go toe to toe with you." And he took him to school. You know, if they actually, if everyone knew how short everyone was by the number of shares, they wouldn't do it. Like, you can tell when it's on the public, on the public exchange, far as options. Like, you can see certain amount of data from there, but you don't know how many shares short. And then on top of that, you add the market maker exemption. Like that, the very nature of the market maker exemption makes absolutely no sense to me. Like, if there's no one willing to sell at a certain price, the price should go up, not provide liquidity until it's basically the opposite. They basically provide enough liquidity until people get so frustrated that they sell, and then they buy back the shares for cheaper than what they sold them to originally. So it's kind of the reverse metric for what price discovery should be.
That's what the market makers wanted, though. They lobbied to Congress. Congress wrote some shady rules, and then the Gary Genslers of the world go through and vote yay or nay. And it's not really any type of legal process whatsoever. It's just a really shady regulatory process that can be bought out, and it's just a pay-to-play game. And it needs to stop with Congress almost immediately. It's disgusting.
See, when you any discussion of short selling, you have to do a little bit of a history lesson and back up a little bit. It started with the market. Well, it first started with Madoff getting the uptick rule removed. And most people don't understand why the uptick rule was in place for 100 years or almost 100 years. It was put in place after the 1929 crash, when, believe it or not, there was actually very similar things that went on where these icons of business that are actually held in high esteem were actually destroying the stock market for their own personal good so they could pick up all the assets. The uptick rule was put in place after the 1929 crash, and it's important to understand the uptick rule, right? So if the stock is $10 bid offered at 10.05, okay, and nothing can trade in between, we're trading in nickel increments, and the stock trades, let's say a long seller knocks out the 10 bid, and now the stock is $9.95 offered at 10. Okay, well, 10 is now an uptick, or excuse me, 10 is now a zero tick. If it ticks at 9.95, now 10 is an uptick. So the concept is that short sellers could not sell on a downtick and drive the price down. Someone had to buy the shares from them higher than the previous price. So we would have had to trade at $9.95, and then a short could be executed at $10, meaning somebody would buy from the shorts. The shorts could not execute the trade straight away. And so I've been in this business so long that I remember when, the uptick rule was in place. I was working at a hedge fund when the uptick rule was in place, and you could sit all day, and there might be literally 50 million shares for sale short in a particular name, and you wouldn't get anything executed all day because it never traded on an uptick. And so you have to understand what would happen is if the 995 bid got knocked out and now it's 990 by 995, okay, it's still on a downtick. So then the 90s get knocked out. So basically it allowed for long sellers to basically cut the line at the club, right? It was designed that long sellers were able to sell stock and not short sellers. So it removed the supply and demand. The supply and demand balance stayed intact. Okay, so that was put in place after 1929, and it lasted until July of 2007. And of all fucking people that got it removed and lobbied hard for it was none other than Bernie Madoff, the chairman of NASDAQ at the time, who lobbied hard to remove the uptick rule. Okay, he did that in July of 07. We all know what happened in 08 and 09. And having been on institutional trading desks during the crash, that financial crash, I can tell you the financial crash of 08, 09 would not have been nearly as bad had there been an uptick rule in place. They actually put it in place for, I forget what it was, 30 days. And it stabilized the markets. They did it on just financials. And the financials all ripped, stabilized the market, and inexplicably, literally, they just removed it. They said, okay, that's good. And guess what? They removed it. And then we really took out, that's when they took out Lehman, they took out Bear, they took out everybody. Okay, so you have to have a little bit of a history lesson. The other great, stunning fucking accomplishment of Bernie Madoff was the Madoff exemption. It's literally known inside the SEC as the Madoff exemption. Not the market maker exemption, it's the Madoff exemption, right? And so it used to be that options sell on a downtick because their options markets could never function if the options market makers weren't able to hedge. And so if you understand options markets at all, no one's going to make a market in an option where there's so much leverage if they can't hedge their book, right? If they can't sell stock. If they had to sit and wait on an uptick in line, and by the way, it used to be that you had to wait in line. So like if you got there early in line during the day to sell short, you were ahead. So if the first share traded and you were 100,000 shares behind the other guy, you had to wait till that stock traded until it got to you. But anyway, options market makers used to have were the only market makers that had the privilege of selling short on a downtick for true market making purposes. And that's what they were doing. Then they actually circumvented those, and they built these things called bullets, which was a synthetic way of using a put and a call to synthetically be able to hit a bid on a downtick, even though you weren't long. You were quote unquote synthetically long, but it basically allowed you to short on a downtick. The SEC, that's what built Susquehanna, by the way, were bullets, because I was doing them back then with Susquehanna. The SEC came in and deemed those to be illegal because they were shorting on a downtick. So Bernie Madoff gets rid of the uptick rule in 07. Maybe the Madoff exemption was before or after. I don't know exactly when. You have those two things. So basically the equity market makers got the same rights and privileges as options market makers. And that's why there was a rush then, and I can show you some articles about how everybody rushed to become a quote unquote market maker. And that's where Dave Lauer had a really good post the other day about a lawsuit, basically going after these quote unquote market makers who aren't doing anything in a market making capacity. All they did was become a market maker to be able to sell on, to be able to short without borrowing or an uptick rule, or excuse me, borrowing or reporting the short. Everyone says naked shorting is illegal. It is not illegal for market makers. The Madoff exemption legalized naked shorting because market makers can just sell. They can just counterfeit and make up phantom shares whenever they want. They don't need to report, nor do they need to borrow it. Okay, they just short. And that's when, if anyone's listened to me, I've talked about different articles that talk about how equity swaps became the weapon of choice after 07, 08. That's when Reg SHO had been put in place to fight naked shorting and IOUs and stuff. And then the weapon of choice became the swap, the equity swap, because if anyone understands how a swap works, it keeps the actual short at the broker-dealer level, right? It's a synthetic contract. The broker-dealer is synthetically long. The hedge fund is synthetically short. There's a dollar amount, which is a loan. That's a separate leg of the transaction. The floating leg is the equity side. There's a strike price, meaning where we're putting this thing on. Now the underwriter, the counterparty of the swap is synthetically long. What are they going to do? They're going to go hedge their book utilizing their market maker exemption and go out and short the stock because they are synthetically long. They're a counterparty on a risk. Now they may not go 1-to-1, but everything's held over there. I've pointed out the article before, but if you Google equity shorts in disguise, Financial Times, you'll see the article, and it talks specifically about synthetic prime brokerage and how this has, in the last 10, 12 years, has risen to prominence of hedge funds using these to specifically hide the shorts and keep them hidden because it never shows up in a reflected, reported short number. And that's why I always laugh, if you've listened to me talk before, I always laugh at people who swear by Ortex data. Now, nothing against Ortex. They're just taking these self-reported short interest numbers that, okay, do your best to report your own stuff. Well, I'll point you to an article where FINRA, our own FINRA, was actually soliciting input from the public on reporting of shorts. And they acknowledge in their questioning is that the FINRA wants to include synthetics, which is swaps, and prop desks, which are currently swaps and proprietary accounts are not included in reported short data. Therefore, you can take Ortex's data and any quote unquote reporting data, and I do air quotes because it's kind of a joke, because that's your baseline. That is your absolute rock bottom baseline. So if you tell me it's 25% of the float, I believe that, but that's rock bottom. And it could be anywhere from 25 to 50 to 100 to 200 to 500. Who knows what it is, because there's no way of tracking what the leverage is at the market maker level via swaps. And during the whole Gabe Plotkin Melvin thing, everyone would say how Gabe had puts in GME. He did not own puts, because we all know that if you own a put or you own an option, the most you can lose is the premium you pay. What Gabe was involved in is he owned derivative swap instruments that were a negative bet. He had swaps on open-ended swaps on GME. And he was laying on them for years because the hit was on GME that they were going to put him out of business. And that's how you lose billions and billions of dollars in quote unquote puts. And he got outed just like Hamid, I think, who was speaking earlier. He absolutely knows what he's talking about. When people found out what his position was, he was dead. And I've said over and over and over and over and over again that, yeah, you can blame the hedge funds. We all know the big ones that are involved in this stuff. But I really blame the SEC, because it's the SEC who truly sets the playing field here. Okay. I always say that if Elon Musk, instead of buying 10% of Twitter, had decided that he wanted to short 10% of Twitter, what would his filing requirements be with the SEC? None. Zero. So wait a minute. Our own SEC requires that if you buy and invest in our companies, that you at 5% you have to file, at 10% you have to file, and then you have other restrictions. But you can go ahead and short 50% and stay totally hidden. The SEC could clean this shit up. They can clean up 50% of this shit could get cleaned up tomorrow if they just came out and said anything over 2% of the float of a company that you are short, you must file by name once a month. Once a month. That's it. And the true legitimate short sellers who really do their work and look at negative, things that are going poorly for companies, they will have no problem filing and reporting their short because they're comfortable in what they do. It's the nefarious guys that won't do that.
You know what's interesting about what you just said, Pete, is the 13F2 filing rule that was going into place where if you have a short over $5 or $10 million, it has to be reported. The first thing the SEC did was delay it in the comments period, and we still haven't heard back on anything for that short reporting rule.
Correct. That's exactly right.
I think Hamid was about to chime in there too with a comment regarding what you just said. And I kind of wanted you to repeat that regarding the 2%. Pete, could you repeat that one more time?
Well, basically the idea is, the simple concept is our fucking regulators are the ones that give the air cover for short sellers. And I think Spence said earlier that, and I agree, Gabe would still be in business if he was required to file his short positions, anything above 2% of a float, because no hedge fund in their right fucking mind wants to show that they're out over their skis on a levered bet on a short. And he pointed to Carl Icahn, or I think Hamid did, that what Carl Icahn did, just for shits and grins, he stuck it to Ackman because Ackman was mouthing off and he did this big presentation about how horrible life is this. And Carl said, you know what, hold my beer. I'm going to shove it up this kid's ass. And guess what? $1.5 billion later, Ackman limped out and Carl did it for literally shits and giggles. So these guys, they do not want to have to show their shorts. And my take on it all is, what the fuck is the SEC doing? Who are they protecting? Yeah. Are they running air cover for short sellers? No, make them and a legitimate short seller who does their work, who says this company is losing market share, the trends are against it, we are short because we're short of a portfolio position size, we're comfortable in our research, and we're going to let the law, whatever, go in there. And then the last thing I'll say, and then I'll turn it back and we can keep going on different things. The stock market, as PJ mentioned earlier about how the markets have become so trashed that why would you come public? I tell people, I've been telling people for a decade, okay, and I ask people all the same question. On a percentage basis, how many companies relative to 2001, publicly traded companies, are there now versus 2001? And the answer is there are 50% fewer publicly traded companies now than there were in 2001. Well, that creates, if the simple definition of inflation is too much money chasing too few goods, okay, everyone wonders why the stock market's a helium balloon. Well, it's because we have simple stock inflation. We've had simple stock publicly traded company inflation for years. There's just way too much money chasing too few quality publicly traded companies. That's why the SPACs all went fucking crazy, because there was so much money pent up looking for a home anywhere, somehow, anyway, that you're right. So the markets used to be a place for capital formation. right? Companies in the private sector would get a much lower multiple than they would in the public sector. So companies would come public and then raise money at higher levels, reinvest those monies. The stock would go up. They'd raise money at 5. They'd raise money at 7.50, 10, 12. The story goes on. Well, with the market maker exemption and the lack of the uptick rule, that whole argument like, well, short sellers can't put companies out of business, fucking bullshit. And Hamid nailed it. They choke off their access to capital by destroying the value of the stock. Okay, so they do it to biotechs, and don't get me started, but biotechs is where they live and they eat, because these companies by nature don't have any revenues. They're working on cancer treatments for children or for whatever. They know they're going to need money. The FDA takes forever to get through. The big institutions, the big pharma, make sure the FDA is a long, expensive, laborious process because they want to defend their fiefdom. But then the SEC does nothing to protect these young companies from these fucking vultures. And the SEC says, yeah, go ahead, short on a downtick. Go ahead, you can hide your shorts. Yeah, you can just drill this thing so that by the time this poor company gets their drug to the end market, and it's a small end market, the stock has 300 million shares outstanding and is so bloated that the stock will never go anywhere.
There's so much good stuff about what you're saying, Pete.
What's that?
I'm just agreeing with you. There's so much good stuff about what you're saying there.
That is a bunch of points. And I'll finish with this. I've long said this. I've been tracking this shit for 15 years, right? More than that. And it actually started with a tiny little biotech company that was working on a very niche market for a type of children's cancer or whatever. That something happened in the stock that I said, wait, huh? And that's what led me down this whole fucking rabbit hole for 15 years. I was tracking securities sold, not yet purchased on Knight Securities line items 12 years ago, 13 years ago, saying they're short, naked short, all this shit, and they haven't covered. Well, Knight Securities went out of business in one day.
Can I just tell you all how I know that Pete is over the target and on to the right thing here is when Gasparino is coming out and relentlessly attacking Pete. Hamid, I don't know if you know who Charles Gasparino is. He works for Fox Business, and he's someone who has just completely trashed AMC relentlessly. I don't think he even talks about anything else other than XRP, old information, and trashing AMC, the company. And Fox Business even ran a fake news article stating that AMC was going private. The curtains were closing, and they ran it on Twitter. They ran it on Facebook. It took so many of us stepping up and saying, what are you doing? Get this down. This is a fake article. And those are that's just an example of the things they do to people here.
I battle with Charlie, and I slap him around like,
absolutely. But my point is here you're a shareholder. You're a shareholder. What is this man doing? He claims a Pulitzer Prize, which he never won, and he is attacking shareholders. But clearly, you are onto something if he feels this strongly that, that he has to come at you over and over, day in and day out.
Yeah, he threatens me with the FBI and all this other stuff. But it's because if you read about all this stuff and you read like the story of Dendrion, like I encourage everybody to read Jim Cramer's role in the takedown of Dendrion. The media is an integral part of this. It's systemic, naked shorting corruption across hundreds, and in my opinion, could be thousands of small caps, right? This is not about one or two names. They are fighting for their lives, not because, look, if they could have taken their loss in AMC and whatever and moved along, trust me, they would have. They're so big that they can't, because it will spill over into all the hundreds, if not thousands of other names that they've been doing this to for a decade. Okay, this is an actuarial model. I tell people that that you have to look at it like life insurance, how life insurance is priced and modeled. If you take 1,000 small cap companies, if you look over time and history, 85% will fail. It just will never survive. 50% will lag along and survive, but not do better than the market. 50 will do okay with the market, and 50 will far out see and make it out. Well, think about it from an actuarial standpoint. If you naked short all of them, all 1,000, how's it going to work out? Well, it's going to work out pretty good, especially the one constant amongst small caps is that they always need money all the time. So it's the game of suppress share price through illegal means, and then that makes dilution, any capital raises as dilutive as possible. So that's what they do, and so they just kill them and kill them and kill them. And that's what they're trying to do in Ape right now. They think they have Adam Aron cornered. They're trying to corner him into a big capital raise down here, and so I keep saying that, like, man, Adam Aron's, his bankers are not his friends, because guess what? His bankers are also counterparties on swaps that got their heads kicked in Archegos and all the other stuff. So it's so interconnected and all this stuff. But this is much bigger. In my opinion, it's across thousands of companies. There are literally sitting on thousands of potential GameStop, AMC type squeezes. And if you saw today, yeah, there was a bloodbath out there today. I actually think the basket, like the 4 or 5 horsemen, Bed Bath & Beyond, AMC.
Hold on. Before you do an and go on to another subject, because you covered so many great things, and I wanted to sort of highlight a couple of them specifically. The first is that, like, we could have way better rules around short selling or just around stock transactions in general. Everything could be literally real time. We have the technology to do it, and it's just absolutely asinine that we cannot have short sell numbers for weeks at a time, or even the fact that you're wishing that they could report it once a month is kind of crazy. Everything should be in real time. If you're short selling, it should be in real time. If you're buying, selling, whatever you're doing, everything should be in real time. The fact that transactions don't even close for 2 days is in itself fascinating. Something that I only learned about after the whole Robinhood fiasco and how they had to sort of shut down the ability for people to buy GME because of the $3 billion cash requirement that they all of a sudden had. Now, I happen to believe them and their position that they were required to do that, or they were going to get shut down, so they didn't have a choice. But why the fuck do we have 2-day delay on having settlements? Like, all of that could be done in real time. That's one of the. If you follow
Patrick Byrne will tell you that all the criminality spent $50-100 million building T0, and it's named T0 for T plus 0, meaning he said all along that we should be able to buy a stock like you're buying a gallon of milk at Walmart. I give you the money, I get my milk. So he named his whole company based on the corruption in the markets. I have my own little trading system.
Hold on. Before you go on to your next point, I do want to highlight another thing that you said that was excellent, which is that, like, if Elon had shorted Twitter, for example, instead of bought Twitter for like 10% of it, he could have caused the stock price to tank, and then made an offer to buy. And the fact that you can actually do that in the stock market is in itself, again, another fascinating, asinine thing that exists. Imagine if, instead of the stock market, you had a apartment complex of 100 apartments or condos that were all nearly identical, and they each sold for about $100,000 a piece. In a normal market, you have some buyers and some sellers, and the price fluctuates at 100,000 plus or minus a little bit, depending on how many buyers there are or how many sellers there are. Now, imagine someone comes in and decides, you know what, can I rent a few of these apartments from the owners? And the owners are like, sure. And then essentially this new entrant into the market of this condo complex rents several hundred of the 1,000 apartments and starts selling them at lower than market prices, even though they don't even own the condos, right? What would that do to the price of the condos? Of course, it's going to just dramatically decrease them. Now, as real owners of the condos try to sell their condos, instead of getting $100,000 per condo for them, they might get 90 or 80 or 70. And this person who's selling them without actually owning them by borrowing them or renting them from people and selling them on the market as if they're their own, has now reduced the price down artificially down to 70,000 a condo, and now can start buying them back at a lower price over time. So the fact that we don't allow this in any other market, we don't allow it in real estate, we don't allow it in any sort of physical goods market, but we do allow it in the stock market itself is also absurd.
It's fucking absurd. And that's why I know there's some people on here that have heard me speak before, but every time I talk to on any calls, I always say that everyone, if they're on this call, you must read on Deep Capture, Saint Small Cap on Deep Capture. And it is the best explanation of naked shorting and the strategy that they employ to dilute and destroy companies. It is a 5-minute read. It is absolutely 100% must read because it lays out the whole strategy. And then you have other anecdotal stuff like the whole Dole Foods debacle, where just go Google Dole Foods had too many shares. And that's the story back in 2015 or whatever. The founder of Dole tanked his own company to take it private. So he tanked it. The shareholders sued. Long story short, it ended up in Delaware court. The company lost. The company had to reimburse shareholders, I think, $2.68 per share. Then they went and did a share count, and they found out that there was 130% of the float legal owners, and they could never find the short sellers. They took the money and ran, and that's what actually led to the state of Delaware passing a law that allowing for the use of blockchain to track securities. This was 5-6 years ago. Nothing ever fucking happens. Well, it's proof. Anybody who tells you like naked shorting doesn't exist is a liar. Anybody who says, well, they don't put them out of business, yes, they do. They actually kill people because they crush these little biotech companies so hard that they delay these life-saving therapies, potentially life-saving therapies, of getting to market. That's killing people. The SEC doesn't even follow the lead of the London Stock Exchange. Most people don't know this, but the London Stock Exchange, if you are short more than 0.1%, not 1%, 1/10 of 1%, if you are short more than 1/10 of 1% of the float of a company on the London Exchange, you have to file. Guess what the largest short interest is in London? I think it's like 13%, because nobody wants to lift their skirt and show their junk. Right. The other thing, I know this for a fact, that they will also, these guys are so fucking dirty, they will also buy shares of a microcap company. And then the management's like, oh, look at this thing. They own our company. No. They're short 10x behind it, but they own it so that you'll pick up the phone and they can talk to you. And then they'll ask you about all sorts of stuff and get a little edge and see if anything's coming and what your body language is. But they're destroying your company. Okay. And so all sorts of nefarious garbage goes on, but I lay it all quick,
Pete. I got to tell everybody to please tweet out the call and share it and comment on the tweet, because there's a lot of people telling us they can't see the call up on Twitter, probably because Tara's boyfriend is being hunted by Twitter currently. So I just wanted to say that real quick. Go ahead.
But I just want Tara to get us all get us all like Tesla cars and stuff.
Cybertruck, baby. I want it.
The Cybertruck's for everybody on this call.
I want it.
I'm gonna be like Oprah. I'm gonna be like Oprah. You get a Cybertruck. You get a Cybertruck. You get a Cybertruck.
You get a Cybertruck. Well, anyway, I could talk literally. I mean, stuff starts. I haven't even gotten to the German exchanges and all the shit they do there, and I would also say, like, I saw that the article about how they're investigating like Apple and spoofing. You have to like segment the criminality in like buckets, right? And they still have not done any investigation that truly is close to the third rail, which is the systemic, deeply embedded naked shorting and destruction of what they do. So when they focus on spoofing and layering and this kind of garbage, they'll do that, right? The high frequency guys will do that to to game the other high frequency guys. So there's a lot of jerking off that goes on. It's a big elephant walk, and they're spoofing versus spoofing versus spoofing. And yeah, and that's all illegal and all the other stuff. But that's over there, right? That's Apple and stuff like that. They're not employing this strategy in Apple or any legitimate companies. They're doing it in other places. And then you have the short and distort guys like what's his face who got indicted. That guy's a total dirtball. But they're smash and grab guys. They're the guys that basically break into the jewelry store, smash it, and take the stuff and leave. They get short, then they press it, then they put out their negative article, and then they smash it some more, and then about 4 or 5 days later, they start covering. And once you learned it, you could actually, trading against smash and grabs and the short and distort campaigns was very beneficial because you knew it was artificially attacked so that you could sell puts, you could buy calls, buy stock, because you knew that they were going to have to try to unwind. And at very least, the stock's probably going to sit still, but it's artificially depressed. So you can make money off the good stuff. That's bucket number 2. The bucket number 3 is what I'm getting at, which is this is systemic across thousands of companies. They're standing on the landmine. You're standing on a landmine, everything's fine until you try to move. Then you get your leg blown off. They're standing on thousands of landmines here. And that's why they're fighting so hard. That's why they're mocking, quote unquote, meme investors. That's why they're getting the SEC to do videos mocking us. It's because they have to crush this whole movement of basically shareholder rights and shareholder transparency.
And that's why I get so disappointed in other people who are traders, who see that happening and kind of jump on board with that. That's such a disappointment to me because here anyone who trades wants, free markets, fair markets. That should just be a no-brainer. That's why, again, I just appreciate Hamid, kind of coming over here and reaching across the aisle with me and also welcoming me so graciously onto his space the other day. It was mainly an Apple discussion, and there was streaming discussion on there as well. And it was just a really, really good space, to be a part of. And I just am so sick of this sort of rhetoric where it's like, oh, you're a meme stock person. Like, no, I'm an investor. I'm a retail investor. And so are you. So we all are on the same playing field here. And if you think you're somehow above me, you're wrong. But really quick, I wanted to ask you, because I'm not sure how much time you have and Hamid. So I want to make sure that we get to the people who do have their hands up. And I know how passionate you are, Pete, and how much you have to say.
I'm going to quick run to the bathroom, and you can let some other people up if they have questions or statements or anything else. We'll go from there.
Yeah, I want to let Sam go for it, and then Nostra will go to you.
Yeah, I just had something really quick. I think one of the things that really pisses me off about short sellers is they don't pay taxes. If we just had some way that forced them, say a company goes bankrupt, Toys R Us, for instance, and 30 days after they're bankrupt, you are forced to go into a neutral position. You have to buy back the shorts, pay them back, close your puts, close your calls, let the stock go to neutral, let the company pay its debtors off, and then see if it can emerge from bankruptcy. Let the company survive if it can. But make those people close their positions and pay taxes 30 days after it's bankrupt.
I'm not sure where that's coming from, but you pay taxes based on gains. So if short sellers have gains, they're taxed just like anybody else.
Is that even if the company goes bankrupt and they never close the shorts out?
Yeah.
And then it gets moved to the OCC or the other.
Yeah. When you short sell, you don't pay taxes until you close the position, just like you don't pay taxes on a long sale until you close the position. So if you never actually buy back the share, you never have to pay it back. Now, if you're making money off of puts or
if the equity has to be canceled. The equity has to be canceled.
So like with Sears and Toys R Us, where they've been running up in the last 6 months randomly, those are surely not closed out.
My guess is on those run-ups, and sorry to interject, on those run-ups, that was they're basically, it was a hedge fund that was short those that basically had a capital call and had to decrease their liability.
Hey,
So they
if
know
you
it's
guys could all
bankrupt company,
please
but
like and
it's about their
subscribe, I'd really appreciate
portfolio.
it. Thank you very
And
much.
they had to go decrease.
Oh, what's happening there?
original sale of the stock price was. So so it is a pretty risky business to short, because the most you can make is 100% of what you short, but the most
Sorry
you can
about that,
lose
everybody.
is significantly
Little
more than
glitch.
100%. And you do
That's
pay
why I'll
taxes.
never understand why people even take on that risk. That it's something I would never want to even do, especially in the world that we're in now, where you have, social media crazes, this influx of retail investors that just signed up for trading apps because of COVID and being stuck at home and all of this. I don't know. It's kind of, I feel like what sort of took place with GameStop and AMC, but obviously GameStop on a much larger scale, is this sort of idea of you don't know what you've got until it's gone. And this time we caught wind of what they were doing versus with Toys R Us, for example. No one really knew what was happening. We were all busy working and living normal lives before the pandemic and being on lockdowns and sitting at home bored and doing research. So I think it was almost like a perfect storm situation that happened there, where people were on social media a lot more, researching, looking for other means of making money while they were stuck at home and baking bread. So we all became traders. I mean, I know that's
Invested.
we all began investing and looking into what was going on. So I just wanted to point that out.
If Toys R Us would have been in this basket, we would have jumped in there too, easily.
Well, had we known what was happening with Toys R Us, we would have absolutely, 100%. I think, the idea was we're going to do these lockdowns. The government, knew obviously what they were going to do. Movie theaters had 2 weeks notice to shut their doors completely. Adam Aron has come out and, there was a CNBC interview video that came out with him talking about how much of a struggle that was to have such short notice and have to still pay their leases while making zero income during that time. And then on top of it, you have people just going in shorting. I mean, it's pretty insane when you think about it, that obviously people knew the company was going to suffer. They were forced to be shut down. And then even when they were allowed to be back in business, they had to follow these, strict protocols. They were only allowed to be at 50% capacity for a while there in the movie theaters. So here they're paying staff, still paying their leases, and only allowed to fill theaters to 50% capacity, which obviously cuts a large amount of revenue in not only ticket sales, but also concession sales. So, it just was a very trying time. But the fact that so many people stepped up this time and saw what was happening and did something about it, I think is very commendable, to be honest. And obviously I'm on this side of the trade, but I personally feel like what the short sellers were trying to do during that time was wrong. And that's it. Like, bottom line, it felt very wrong to me.
Short selling in general is wrong, and I think, Tara, you nail it when you said that I don't see why anybody would take that kind of a risk with short selling a stock when you can actually lose significantly more than the potential gain.
Infinite losses. Infinite.
And you're absolutely right. No normal person would do that with their own money. The only way you would do that is if you are, investing with other people's money and you have zero personal risk, right? So
and it's a sure bet, right? Hamid, like, I mean, here AMC shorting AMC was just a sure bet, right? I hear the company was shut down.
When you can manipulate the stock additionally, for sure, it seems like a surer bet. And in fact, I posted something to the top of the Twitter feed on top that is a Jim Cramer video where he talks about how like he basically uses short. This is from years ago where he talks about manipulating the stock market essentially through short selling.
Just go to my Twitter feed and it's my pinned tweet. The guy's a total admitted criminal stock manipulator. You can watch the whole video.
Here's the there.
I retweeted you, Hamid, and yeah, it's pinned up at the top. So I'll have to watch it after the space because I don't want it to. I'm not sure if I'll get my sound messed up in here. And really quick, just to remind people, a lot of people have DM'd me and said that they didn't even know we were in here. They didn't see the space at the top of Twitter. If you haven't done so, you can go comment and you can retweet the space or share it out yourselves. I would really greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys so much.
There's 175 people on YouTube too, just so everybody knows we are streaming. But the there is you find out who's pressuring Gasparino or influencing Gasparino to attack AMC theaters, which came out of nowhere. Figure out who's pushing Fox and him to do this. Then you find out who short the stock. Then you find out which Congress people they lobbied for to keep these companies off any type of protection list during the pandemic, but you also find out which major institutions want that market share. This all stems from Amazon. Toys R Us was a Walmart thing, an Amazon thing. You can't have retail stores out there selling toys when you need to do it on an e-commerce platform. You would have never got the business because there's a thing called brand loyalty, which everybody is refiguring out now. I guarantee you this DOJ investigation will come out and find out that Amazon is actually funding certain entities to short sell companies to death and put in sock puppet board members to destroy them from the inside out. It's all going to stream back to where all the market shares were consolidated, which is Amazon, Walmart, companies like that. That's why they destroyed Overstock. They could not have Overstock be successful as an e-commerce competition.
Correct. I don't know if we'll ever get the.
Let's go to Zach or some of the other people who have their hands up, just so that we can get some of the other comments and questions.
This is just a quick question. I think Pete mentioned it earlier. I just wanted to get the name of that 5-minute read that kind of unfolds how they get away with like naked.
You can look on my thread, but there's a lot of stuff on there. I will post it right now. You're referring to basically the best explanation of naked shorting and what the strategy is. Yeah. Okay. I'll post it on my Twitter right now.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate
it and then
that.
pin it to the space if you can, Pete. That would be awesome. Thank you, Zachary.
Thank you.
No hablo español. You can do that. I'll just post it and you can do the whole pinning to the spaces thing.
Okay. I got you. Nasha, I think you were waiting a bit. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go for it, Hamid. Hamid's helping me out here. Thank you. I'm drinking my coffee, even though it's almost evening here.
So sorry to overstep my my boundary. I do have to leave in like
no,
15 minutes.
Not at all.
Just want to. Nostra, go for it.
Oh yeah, hey guys. I had a comment from earlier when Pete was talking. He was concerned with the short sellers not having to disclose that they're short. And that basically comes down to if you're not a beneficial owner or if you have no votes, the SEC doesn't really care for disclosure reasons. And the same applies for longs. So last year we had Archegos that blew up, Bill Huang. He was long 10 times his entire fund from 10 billion to 100. He was long the whole thing and none of it was disclosed. I just want to make that comment that it works both ways.
I'm not sure what you mean by being 10 times long. Like, what does that mean?
Oh, I mean, Are you familiar with Bill Huang and how Archegos blew up in March 2021?
I'm not.
I can help out here if you care.
Yeah, you could go.
You're absolutely right on Bill Wong and Archegos, and I've said multiple times on multiple calls that Archegos is actually playing a very vital role and could play a very vital role in all of this, because the broker dealers were, when I was talking earlier about that backdoor systemic counterparty risk of swaps. So Bill Wong was using long swaps. Swaps can be short and swaps can be long. It's a notional value of money. If Tara is XYZ broker, Dewey Cheatham and Howe brokerage firm, right? And I'm a hedge fund, and I call her up, and she works on the swap desk, and I want to short $100 million worth of AMC. We work on a strike. Her firm is now synthetically long. I'm synthetically short, and then boom, she hedges her book. I'm synthetically long, and then we true up on options expirations. That's the other thing, is most of the time it's on regular options expirations. Well, the inverse of that can happen, which is Bill Wong, which was he was levering up the other way, which was he was putting on massive derivative positions at every broker dealer, and he didn't have to disclose any of them. And then when it blew up, he walked away, and all these brokerage, CSFBs, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, they were all left holding this big multi-billion-dollar bags, is what happened. And that's Paramount. That's a bunch of these that all blew up when he walked away. The inverse of that is shorting it, and you can also do it on the long side. And I think that's why the collateral rule that came in place on September 1st is basically geared at the family offices, because Bill Wong was a family office and not subject to the same regulatory scrutiny. Millennium's a family office. SAC is a family office. They all hide behind this. And so the new collateral rule is focused at, if you notice, it's actually focused specifically at swaps and the collateral needed on swaps. So basically it's reducing the leverage available, and they have to put up more dough to put on the same position. And so, and then when you tie in the article that came out 3 weeks prior, where the SEC is worried that hedge funds might cause systemic risk. Well, that's because they didn't know with the new collateral rule that was coming exactly what's going to happen. Like the SEC didn't know if that was going to cause any problems. So you're absolutely right. It does work both ways.
Any other questions, comments? Feel free to raise your hand, I guess. Yeah. PJ, go for it.
Hi, I have a question just to circle back to Pete and the SEC. Excuse me. So you mean to tell me there's not one chair, not one person, historically, since the derivative swaps have come into play, and I think it's only since 2008, that there hasn't been one person that says, wait a minute, this is not good for the market. Not one?
It requires a lot more than one. That's part of the problem, is that it requires action to be taken oftentimes at Congress level in order for there to be any meaningful change, right? The SEC by itself is not very capable, unfortunately.
But I'm pretty sure if the SEC went to Congress and said, hey, we have to stop this, Congress would be all over it. Maybe.
Why would they, though?
Yeah, that's true, because they're getting
look
paid
where they
off
end
by
up
funds.
working.
Yep.
They end up in
exactly
revolving door.
What a cluster F! My goodness.
The SEC should be wrapped up under the DOJ and overwatched by them for when congressional mandates come in for them to make new rulings. Right now, the SEC is nothing. It's completely unregulated. They can do whatever they want. They wait for comments for market changes from people like Citadel and Susquehanna. That's why the 13F2 rule is still sitting in the comments period. It's a complete joke. If anything was going to happen, Congress should roll up the SEC under the DOJ and make it become a branch and actually more of a federally regulated government entity, so they also had proper funding. But nobody from the SEC should be able to go work for a financial a financial institution within the first 2 years of them leaving the SEC. It's a massive conflict of interest.
They should have the same lobbying rule that was put in place for the DOJ.
Absolutely.
Really quick, I wanted to just read a DM that I got from someone while we were having this discussion from JW, and I'm going to make a tweet about it too. It honestly makes me tear up when I think about some of the struggles and the things that we've been through here, and others as well who have been in this fight for longer than I have. Pete, for example, he's been screaming it from the rooftops and how much just crazy, nefarious things have been going on in the markets. But JW DM'd me. He said there were a lot of people that tried to save Blockbuster and Toys R Us back in the day. He said he left the markets after that. When GameStop hit $5, he alerted some of his friends about it, but didn't play it because he didn't believe we could beat the system from past experiences. He says he didn't buy into AMC early because of the volume, kept watching it, and after the Battle of 801, he reopened several brokerage accounts, sold his gold and silver, and joined the fight. He said, if we had social media back then, Blockbuster and Toys R Us would have been saved. Thanks for all you do, Tara.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good statement. Yeah, it's fair.
I love you, Tara, and I second that. Thanks for all you do.
Here's the other thing. There's some very simple things that the SEC could do that are very agnostic in terms of not going after the hedge fund industry. All they would have to do, you ever think about this? How about requiring every brokerage firm to once a month file the ownership of every stock that they hold? Not by name or not by individual person, just how many shares does E-Trade hold of AMC? How many shares do they hold of Apple? Whatever. And post it once a month. Anything over, let's say, 10,000 shares, every brokerage firm has to file how many shares they hold. You could quickly, very quickly.
It should be done in real time, really. I mean, there's no reason.
I mean, you're right. It could be in real time, but let's just say, realistically, for shits and giggles, once a month. Any
once a month is
still
subject to manipulation.
Over 10,000 shares, they have to file. It's literally one file. Click, click, boom, they file. Guess what? We could quickly see, right? If every brokerage firm, including Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, Janney Montgomery Scott, everyone, everybody who is a registered broker dealer must file ownership of shares. You will very quickly see, if you go, wait a minute, that's fucked up. Look at that. There's 180% of the float is long.
Well, that's why they muzzled CEOs. They can't talk about their own company without getting attacked by the SEC, and that's right. Part of the game.
That's right. But I guess my point is, the SEC isn't like this dumb. I always post this thing of Sergeant Schultz, like I'm old enough for Hogan's Heroes, right? And I did this meme or the gif of Gensler as Sergeant Schultz, right? I see nothing. And the SEC is not just incompetent, because there are too many simple solutions that could forward the agenda properly, and they refuse to do it. There's no regulatory hurdle for them to say, hey, guess what? Every broker dealer in the United States must file their ownership of every stock they hold in their basket, period. There's no regulatory holder. There's no, all it is one person at the firm just aggregating the ownership of stock and filing. But they don't do that. They don't do the very minimal basic things to protect shareholders and to provide transparency. Therefore, they must be colluding and corrupt. And there's nothing in between, in my opinion.
Hey, can I jump in here real quick?
Go for it.
Good.
Wondering what your thoughts are on the new Phase 6, I don't know, call it regulations, what it might affect, the end of Phase 5 with the COVID, the end of COVID, Phase 5, and what it might affect on, having the World Bank maybe regulating our regulators? Is that a thing, or am I misinformed?
Phase 6 is having an impact. Obviously, we see money being moved around in the market due to the initial margin requirements, but it's not going to be like an end all blow everything up catalyst. This, they've known phase 6 was coming for months and months and months. So I think the World Bank monitoring everybody's market like a regulator would be a complete disaster. I wouldn't even feel comfortable investing anymore if that was the case, to be totally honest with you. I think each country and each entity need to be able to monitor their markets on their own basis. Because say this, payment for order flow is illegal in Germany, UK, Australia, Canada, I think too, but it's legal in the US. So what if they made payment for order flow legal in every single country because it was in the World's Bank interest? So that's what I think on it anyways.
Well, don't get me started on payment for order flow, because payment for order flow, if anyone knows me, it should not be PFOF. It should be PFCD, which is payment for customer data. They are absolutely 100%, in my opinion. I will qualify it with my opinion, but it's an educated opinion over 28 years of watching blinking lights, that they are not only getting your order flow, but they are getting every little nook and cranny about your trading behavior, where you stop out, what your position levels are, what your margin level. It's my opinion that the other side, who's paying for the order flow, knows the average price across, 80, 90. If they capture 80, 90% of all retail, they know the average price of a given stock, 80, 90% of retail. They basically have a drone behind enemy lines, and they're feeding all that data into their AI. And I've said it before, there's an interview with Ken where he basically says the quiet part out loud, which is basically, if you can get the right data based on, human behavior, you can take advantage of it. And that's it. Because if you do some simple math, okay, so a couple years ago, they paid E-Trade $250 million for their order flow. Okay, well, let's do some math here, right? A tenth of a penny is a good return on a high frequency trade. They skim for less. Well, let's say a tenth of a penny. That's 250 billion shares that they need to get from E-Trade alone before they make $1 back on their $250 million investment for their order flow. Well, that's, if you divide that 250 billion shares by 3.8 million E-Trade customers, that comes out to roughly 67,500 shares per E-Trade customer. And there's no way on God's green earth that the average E-Trade customer is trading 67,500 shares each a year. There's just no way. You have active traders, but it's not even close to the number of inactive traders that are holding mutual funds and ETFs and don't trade at all. So what else are they getting? Because if they're spending $250 million, they're getting something else. And I have too many anecdotal stories of trader buddies and it's happened to me, where they're like, look, they're shooting against me. And I've seen it personally. They get all the data. And so it wouldn't surprise me if they're trying to globally get control of, payment for order flow, because it means controlling people. Sorry for going on a tangent.
No, that's awesome. Thank you.
I'd like to just quickly say, if I may, everybody has done a great job. All retail, everybody holding out. It just takes bit by bit, chipping away at that wall. And soon enough, we're all collectively going to crawl through the 500 yards of shit until we get our freedom at the end. It'll rain. You just got to be waiting. We're all going to be meeting Andy at that boat. Hang in there. I'm Morgan Freeman, and I have dinner now. Bye.
Oh, wow. You just were graced by Morgan Freeman in this space. That was amazing. Thank you, Morgan.
I just want to have him come back up and say, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, with his Morgan Freeman voice.
How do you eat an elephant? Only one bite at a time. Have a good one. I'm around.
And this is why I love Twitter. You just never know who's going to show up into his
Oh, I
space
love it.
and add to the commentary.
I love Twitter because I'm getting a new Tesla truck.
When I get my Tesla
Yep.
truck, Tara, first, I'll give you a pre-thank you, but I'm going to basically just put it into storage. And then 20 years from now, I'm going to sell it for $1 million.
I just hope you guys aren't disappointed when I give you your cyber trucks and they have they're wrapped with cucumbers. It's just part of the gig. Sorry.
But if you get pregnant by Musk in my Cybertruck, then when I go to resell it, it'll be worth like $50 million. So just think about it.
Excuse me, what's
on
going on here,
autopilot.
Tara?
Oh my
Yeah, but
goodness.
This is happening.
you're going to need some type of like letter or something from Tara saying that that's what happened.
You know, it's kind of messed up that you're all getting Cybertrucks, but I was only promised a pony. I mean, I'm just a little disappointed. I mean, nothing wrong with a pony, Elon. I'll take it, but I kind of would rather have a Cybertruck too. Or just a Tesla will do too. I don't even need the whole truck.
You guys are awesome. I just wanted to interject and say, I always look for the silver lining. I've been here for over a year. I'm still holding no matter what. But, amidst all the doom and gloom, it's nice to hear, a ray of hope. And I hope we can all stay positive and keep on fighting. And I really appreciate all you guys and allowing me the time to speak. And thank you, Tara. I hope to be with you guys for a long time to come.
Well, I'm not leaving, so you're stuck with me. Thank you, Matthew. That's awesome. Thank you.
Is Swing requesting or is he up here as a co-host still? Because he has a little blue dot.
I see him as a co-host, but he hasn't talked in a while. Let me remove him and see. Maybe there's an issue going on. I'm not sure. There. Hopefully that works. I see Mr. Burp up here with his hand up.
Is Pete? Oh, there you are, Pete. I think it was you mentioned something about the SEC and how they're not just incompetent. And I was wondering if you had ever heard that BCG is for Citadel. Are you familiar with that?
I am not. This news to me, but it won't surprise me. There used to be a guy on this guy Eric Hunsater on Twitter. He was actually a whistleblower and won I think $6 million or $4 million on the flash crash. And he was a computer scientist who had systems that were watching the market. And he was great back in the day. And he was all over Kenny Boy and that whole thing. And he had a pinned tweet where it was basically an interview where Kenny, I wish I had it. It was where Ken said, "No one will ever end around me at the SEC, ever." And he's right. So it doesn't surprise me.
You know, somebody said they're looking for the silver lining in all this a minute ago. And I'll tell you where the silver lining is. It's in the Midas-style mineralizations out in Highcroft Mine that they're going to be ripping out of the ground in 2023. Just saying.
By the way, did you see the volume pattern in the stock today? You want to talk about a classic, what I call handoff that I've been watching for a decade or more? That today was classic handoff material where you had, I don't know what the total volume on the day was. Someone knows, they could say it. You had about 47 million shares trade in about a 45-minute window. And all that was moving shares from the left pocket to the right pocket and to maintain control. And then that's where a perfect example of payment for order flow, because they can watch and see in real time the demand coming through retail. And when it starts to fade, They've turned it over. Now they've got ammunition, and then whammo, 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 right back down. And they try to flush everybody back out. Well, sorry.
Yeah. I honestly, I've been trying to tell people for a while now, this entire setup with AMC, Highcroft Mine, Ape, having Sprott in the backing. This is what I was going to tell you guys earlier too. What you were talking about with these people who come out and short these companies to death. They only do it to companies who don't have proper backing in the market. I think something everybody's missing is the new partnerships that AMC is making with Disney. Disney is now like the biggest bouncer you could possibly have out front of your club, protecting the club from bad people from getting in. This is going to keep going further and further because Disney's not going to have somebody attacking AMC if it's bad for it. Right now, Hollywood is infatuated with AMC theater because the celebrities are now back in the spotlight. They don't have all that weird sentiment on them because of the Harvey Weinstein trials and all that stuff that was going on. Everybody hated Hollywood for years until the pandemic. They now have movies back in theater making billions of dollars, and production studios are jumping on board with this. So I think these short sellers, one, like I said, if you figure out who told Rich Turkey Neck Lakefield Greenfield to give AMC a penny price target, which he should be in jail for, you would find out who's actually manipulating the stock. But two, they're going to get crushed because they don't understand that retail consumer sentiment has now pushed bigger corporations to want to jump on board to cash in on the brand loyalty. So these shorts better figure out what they're going to do and do it quick, because 2023, they're not going to survive. If they make
Did you
it
guys
past
hear
October.
the news that the richest billionaires today lost $93 billion? I almost feel like it's just a liquidation pull all around, like not just retail at this point. Obviously, I mean, not that I feel really sorry for billionaires, but at the same time, I mean, that's massive. That's insane.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's all part of everything that's been going on with, the naked shorting, the new revenue streams and the new plans coming in with these stocks where they're trying to identify through preferred shares or crypto dividends, synthetic shares, checking the volume. Adam Aron talking about volume every 5 minutes, and then going back and talking about how only all four of his brokers did the right thing while others didn't. It seems to me like a lot of CEOs from a lot of companies are all talking with each other, but they're not really talking with each other. And I think, September, October classically are setup months for major market crashes. I think what you're going to see, and today we saw it, we had a flash crash this morning, and then all of a sudden the MSM's coming out like, oh, the Dow dropped 300 points. You got Liz Claman on the news trying to scare the crap out of people so they sell their shares cheap. But we'll have a flash crash, and then we're going to have an amazing bull market rebound, like almost so instantaneously that people aren't going to know what to do, because all this liquidity is going to change hands really quick when these shorts go underwater, or they end up drowning, basically, because they already are underwater. But every single news channel today coming out and talking about, oh, the Dow crashed 1,000 points. They want people to panic and sell so they can actually get to the market bottom they needed to get out of their positions. Right now, this is nowhere near where they need to be to get out of their positions. That's my opinion anyways.
What's interesting about what happened today also is that it's actually on news that we basically didn't have much month-to-month inflation, right? The annual inflation rate that you see, the 8.3%, is actually compared to last year, which means it's the month-to-month for the previous 12 months accumulated, or the sum of that. The month-to-month inflation was actually 0.1%. So if we had the exact same inflation numbers of August for the next 10 months, the 12-month inflation would actually be 1.1%, right? So the reality is that the Fed is actually trying to keep inflation 2% or around 2%. And the numbers that we got today is that inflation would be at roughly 1.1% if we continue at the current rate. And yet the market reacted the way it did. So that is kind of surprising. It's a little surprising. I don't think the Fed actually needs to take action as a result of today's numbers, which is surprising to me that everyone panicked out.
Yeah, it was definitely an overreaction today, which was pretty funny because we were talking about CPI 2-3 days ahead of all this. And I told everybody, I said, CPI might be a little better, but nothing's cheaper. Like you go to the grocery store and you can see that nothing is, it's still not cheaper than it needs to be. And it's not necessarily coming down in any type of significant manner. But as soon as they come out and announce CPI and inflation estimates, I knew they were going to be skewed because they haven't gotten anything right all year. So I actually took out puts on the SPY 2 days ago, Friday or Monday. I think maybe it was Monday morning. Yeah, Monday morning, which ended up doing really good today. I just don't trust anything the government's going to say. What they're trying to do is they're getting ready to try to crash the market purposely. They're going to put out some horrible news to get everybody to panic sell so they can get the bottom end they need for these shorts and these institutions to get out from underwater. They've said it multiple times. Ken Griffin, multiple people on Twitter who are notorious short sellers, Gasparino, all these characters have said retail is not selling. You don't have the natural selling pressure you need to cause this next market crash. It's because we're the only ones with actual real money in the stock market right now. We're not over leveraged like everybody else. So I think we're going to see maybe some type of small flash crash, MSM panic, but then we're going to see a rally back to the upside. Because almost every other indice except for the S&P 500 has gone back to its pre-pandemic high. S&P is the only one that hasn't done it yet. So I'm interested to see if it hits that pre-pandemic high or if it's just going to bounce 390 and move on. So we'll see, though.
Yeah, I remember them coming out with several articles saying that retail needs to sell to allow for a bounce. Like it's retail's fault. They're diamond handing. That's why there's not going to be a bounce in the stock market.
Yeah, hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, I came on to say, because I think it was something that was pretty interesting. One thing on what you were saying, Spence, was like, I think it's funny that it dropped like 4+% today, the S&P, and it's only just now at 3,900. And then a couple of weeks ago, I was listening to one of your live streams, and you had said something about that I thought was very interesting. That kind of solidified when I saw Cocaine Kramer's like rant that one day, where you were saying like the retail as a whole really hasn't capitulated, and for the first time in history, we're seeing this kind of drastic sell-off. Only it's not retail capitulating, and it's the institutions that are refusing to capitulate, but also hitting the overnight window, just trying to keep this thing afloat and cause us to panic because they don't know how to get out of it, and their puts aren't printing the way they want them to. So we're waiting them out. I thought it was really interesting when you said that, because it kind of solidified. I'm like, yeah, really, I don't think retail has capitulated. That's the problem that they're having.
If I can interject on that or comment on that, earlier I mentioned, and I think you guys are on the right track there. Keep in mind that you have to look at some big trends, and I'll go back to the same trend I mentioned earlier. There are 60% fewer publicly traded companies now than there were in 2001. At the same time, in 2001, I'll have to check the statistics, but off the top of my head, I think in 2001, 15% of total assets under management were managed passively, meaning indexed fund, and 85% were actively managed, meaning you had a human being portfolio manager who was coming in every day, who has emotion. Sell, buy, well, now that number is 50-50. half the assets under management are run passively. They just own ETFs. Well, the flip side effect of that is there's no portfolio manager at Vanguard coming in wearing a diaper because futures are down, limit down on Sunday night, and he puts on his diaper and goes to work and starts selling first thing in the morning on Monday. There's no, it's indexed, and the index is rebalanced once a year, and that's it. There's no human side of it. So the big push over the last decade that we've all seen of gathering assets and putting them into ETF index passively managed portfolios is showing up on days like this, where I don't know about any of you guys, I've watched stocks for a long time, but the 25 to 50 names I watched today acted just fine. I thought the trading behavior in it's the five horsemen now, BBBY, BB, AMC, APE, and GME was all very constructive and healthy. Like as an institutional trader who's traded big chunks of stock, those stocks were well bid for and acted just fine. And having been at a hedge fund, I've also been in a situation where your short book isn't performing against your long book. And hint, Tiger, right? Everyone wonders how Tiger blew up the way they did. Their shorts didn't perform, right? And so what you're having now, the day I saw today, at least from my perspective, was if I was them, I'm not in a very good mood because my long side's getting fucking taken behind the shed and my short side's not participating. When you have, whatever the S&P was to 3.5%, 3.82, or whatever it was, a bloodbath, right? And you look up and you would expect GME to be down at least, 8, 9, 10%? Now, how about, Bed Bath & Beyond? Nope. How about GameStop or AMC? None of them. They were all sticky and well bid for. You could have sold a lot of stock today because they were looking to whatever. So that's the good sign on this type of environment is that puts a lot of pressure because then they have to either start selling their longs, which then makes their book more short heavy, which means when we do get a bounce, their performance is going to lag relative to the indexes, or they have to go cover their shorts, which aren't performing against their longs, and they're going to underperform on this side. So it's that's what I watched today. I thought today was actually very constructive across, I don't know, 25, 50 stocks I watch. And those are all basically smaller, heavily shorted names. So I'll go back and shut up.
That's the main reason I bought my put was just to hedge against my meme stock basket position.
Yeah.
Because the 5-6% we took today was actually not that bad. They performed super well. So I just rolled my market downside back into my basket. And I will again tomorrow.
That's right. But the downside pressure at this point is not bad. And just, watch individual names, watch a basket of these names and just, and don't look at indexes, block those off and say, how's this thing acting? Yeah, it's down a little bit, but it's pretty steady. It's okay. It bounces. It's doing okay. That's what I saw today. I didn't see, I didn't see retail panicking out of these small names. The other thing is, how much blood can you get from a stone? I mean, at some point, you've already been through, look, let's be honest. Anybody who wants out of AMC by now is pretty much out, right? And the folks like us who are like, fuck you, I'm not selling. We're not going anywhere. Okay. Who's left to really sell? The index guys can't sell. Okay. Then what do you got? That's what's driving these guys fucking bonkers because they'll put their sophisticated, Penn Wharton, you don't understand the return on equity of AMC is over this one. Yeah, I don't care. I'm not selling. Nah. And that drives them fucking insane that you don't understand. They're smart. You're dumb. You need to sell. No, thanks. I'm good. That's driving them fucking insane. Trust me on that.
You see,
I just wanted to point out, you guys, really quick. I just checked the futures and they are down bad. I don't know if you guys have looked, like down 5% and 4%. This is not good.
Well, the thing that's going to drive them even more crazy is if they try to harm Ape any further to where Adam Aron can't do a capital raise until 2024 because it's under $10 a share, which he was very advent after I tweeted that, tweeting, why would I hurt myself when I own so many shares? It's going to blow their minds when Adam Aron comes out and says, hey, guess what? We're going to sell limited edition rare NFTs. We already told Adam Aron we would be willing to pay the debt off by buying a product. He can sell a slew of NFTs to the ape community and raise hundreds of millions of dollars just by doing that. There's no way for them to get out of this. Anybody who's in is either waiting to get back to the $30, $40 range, might be positive, might have moved their position, but anybody who's in is in at this point. Why would we get out when all the best catalysts are about to land and we're about to have the biggest box office in the past 20 years? The short thesis is completely destroyed in this. It's just, it basically at this point, anybody shorting AMC, GME, any of the meme stock basket, they're either stuck in it or they're playing a morally hazardous game where they refuse to accept their loss.
Yeah.
Tara,
I don't think futures are down that bad.
Yeah, I actually show them as being up since close, like down for the day, but up since close slightly.
Yeah, I think
not a lot.
You might have seen an old.
Okay, maybe I was looking at an old thing. My bad.
Yeah, I think you must have been. Yeah, no, we're steady. We're steady after hours.
I'm looking at. I shouldn't be on here, but I'm looking at CNN. Dow futures are down a point. S&P's down 175. I don't think this is updated though. It says 13th 7:07 p.m.
No, I'm watching I'm watching SPY right now.
It doesn't look right.
SPY is 39.34, and it went out 391, I think, or something. So
it's that damn CNN.
Does the trend continue tomorrow? That's the big question.
I think you'll see
the bleeding. Do we continue to see bleeding tomorrow, or will we see a rally? No one knows.
Well, the index, the index is perhaps,
could go sideways.
I think we're heading towards a point here where you could see, you could see. I call it the alligator opening its mouth, where you see a correlation break apart, where I think you have a chance to see some of these heavily shorted names break apart from indexes and start living completely on their own. That's one of the things I've been watching for, is just something to completely break away on no news and just totally start acting different. Will be kind of a sign for me that something behind.
Before we had the pandemic crash, except the S&P, and me just watching the SPY the last, I don't know how many months, it did what I thought today, and we got close to 390. If it breaks 390, it literally would have to go back to, let me zoom out here, 330 to make the same impact as the other indexes had. So I don't know what's really going on with it, but I don't think it's going to actually get that low. I think there's too many retail investors that are consistently putting money into the system, cash money, non-leveraged, to let this thing go much lower than it is, unless you see China invade Taiwan. If we have any type of military movement outside of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, they're going to use that as an excuse to flash crash the market. So that's what I'm actually waiting for, is news on China.
Yeah, that's a pretty good strategy. Long a bunch of our good stuff, and then your long puts, S&P puts. Not a bad way to go.
Funny enough, today too, Congress announced that they were looking at putting new sanctions on trying to keep China out of Taiwan. Just today, as the market was crashing, almost like they decided to report that purposely to try to cause more downward pressure.
They're trying to crash the market. I don't know why, but they're absolutely trying to crash it. It could be to cover. I don't know, but it's.
If you look at the options chain in October, around the 21st to the 27th, for the SPY, they are just loaded up on puts like crazy. Like, so I've never seen this heavy of traffic on it before. Almost like somebody thinks or knows the market's going to crash. Or it could just be people hedging too.
Did you guys happen to see the?
Did you guys see really quick? Did you guys see Elon Musk tweet the whistleblower, the whistle that he's blow the whistle is what it says. I'm going to pin it to the top, but he's selling a cyber whistle on Tesla shop.tesla.com. He says you have to pay with Dogecoin. I thought it was genius marketing, to be honest. And I asked him how much to blow his whistle. Anyway, but we can continue. I can't say I've ever asked a guy that before, but yeah, there's a first for everything.
I was going to say, on the back of what you were saying, Spence, there was some heavy volume on the August 19th SPY puts at the, like, what was it? It was like the it was like 360 and 380 strikes. There was like 112,000 contracts traded or something. It was August 19th. And this was back in, July. I was like, oh, looks like something's about to happen. And, like everything else, nothing ever did. So it's really crazy.
Sorry, I'm buying a cyber whistle.
Oh my gosh, yes, please. This is amazing. Really quick, Forlano. I don't know, Forlano, I don't know why you're not up here as a speaker. He just sent me a DM of a article that is just talking about Top Gun Maverick and that how it's made Paramount Pictures reassess theatrical releases. It says Paramount Pictures is rethinking its release strategy thanks to the phenomenal success of the Top Gun sequel and other recent releases. Something that we've been saying all along in regard to streaming versus, doing the window with theatrical screenings. Or I'm like stumbling on my words. Let me just read what this says. Paramount Pictures seem to be fully committing to a future of films that would hit their Paramount Plus streaming service and bypass cinematic releases. However, their recent success with Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and the unprecedented Top Gun Maverick may have changed their minds about just how many of their movies will be given a theatrical release as a first option. Kind of a big deal. Just another studio that's recognizing the fact that they lose, a ton of money by doing releases directly to streaming.
Somehow, my damn purchase, when I did the address, I even clicked United States. It put Singapore. So now I got to redo it.
I already have DMs from guys asking me if they can show me their whistle. I don't know how to respond, but the answer is always yes.
Ask him how big the whistle is.
That's what I want to know. So please proceed with the whistle picks. And if anyone wants to chime in, you guys just keep the conversation going. Spence and I are racing to order our cyber whistle right now.
I'd blow a cyber whistle if Elon joins the movement.
Hey, you never know. I mean, this is twice now. Same day he put up a popcorn emoji, he responded to me. This happened back in May. He tweeted out some popcorn. Obviously, there was a lot of drama going on, so it probably was, about that. But at the same time, I feel a little bit special. I'm not going to lie.
I'll tell you what, if he
does recognize us.
I'll tell you what, if he lent AMC $5 billion and got, 20 million shares in exchange for it, he would put some people out of business.
It's forcing me to put my address, even though I got a zip code in as Singapore.
Are they going to send you something? Like, isn't it, is it a physical whistle?
Yeah, it looks like a Cybertruck.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing.
$70.
That is amazing.
One thing
I need one.
Share, Tara, that there's all this bearish talk of how horrible the Q3 box office is, but looking at the numbers, like we're already 26% better than last year, and which isn't, mind you, I understand it's not 2019, it's not 2018 numbers, but depending on, and I know that we have a weak schedule, but if we push through and people go to the movies these last couple of weeks, we could clear that 2 billion threshold hypothetically. Like it's a kind of a long shot without any big box office, but still, that like it took us a long time to clear that 2 billion a quarter threshold. We didn't even quite make it in Q4, or like it looked like we were going to, and I think we're just shy. So, thinking about it in those terms, with a weak slate, basically on the backs of mainly Top Gun, like Top Gun being the main the main movie of Q3, that's pretty darn good numbers. Like I'm not that disappointed. Like that's a pretty good week quarter, I guess is my point. Like they're not going to lose that much money, given everything else going on, compared to like what they may have done in Q1, etc.
It's a recovering quarter. I mean, this patient is recovering. It's not going to. I mean, I say to people that this patient was hit by a bus, and the recovery is going to take time and healing and whatnot. It's getting better. It's improvement year over year, and that's what you want to see.
There was 1.5 million people that attended AMC theaters during Cinema Day or whatever they called it worldwide. So they had that. They were talking just the other day, last weekend, Top Gun brought in another $3.5 million. So for anybody, even Disney, to put anything straight to Disney Plus, which you see now, they're putting Disney Plus titles in theater for Disney Plus Day. Why on earth are they putting Hocus Pocus 2 straight to streaming? That is the most ignorant decision I have ever seen any production studio made. My neighbor, it's not even October, she has at least $2,000 of Hocus Pocus shit laying around her house and pillows and coffee mugs, and it blows my mind. They need to put that movie in theater for Halloween.
Who's the studio?
Disney Plus.
Oh yeah, we need to put something out there about that. That would absolutely kill in theaters in October. I mean, people would dress up and go watch that.
Bette Midler belongs on the silver screen.
Oh yeah, one of my mom's favorite fall movies is Hocus Pocus. We gotta throw a fit. We need to have a tantrum.
So someone needs to put a spell on Disney on this one. Tara, you've been called a lot of things. Is a witch one of them? Can you
Honestly,
put a spell on this?
So I have this secret that no one really knows about me, and I've never really shared. But yeah, I have the ability to cast these things into the universe, I guess, and sort of make things happen, whether it be good or bad. So you better be careful if you double cross me. Swing. I'm watching you.
Is that how Spence got the frog on his head? You tried to turn him to a frog and it just ended up on his head.
Okay, so sometimes my spells and stuff don't go over 100% perfectly, but it was pretty damn close. You have to admit. Plus, we don't want to get rid of Spence's face altogether. Look at that face.
Look, I carry a lot of white mountain sage around the house, and I have my Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness Machina de Cadavis next to all my old books. So I'm very aware. I'm a Supernatural fan, which is funny. That's funny. Jensen Ackles is out here right now filming for the new Winchester TV series. So that was pretty interesting how many movies they film out here.
I just realized we have Zero up here with his hand up, and we're over here talking about casting spells. Okay, Zero, you have the floor.
That guy's got a safety belt on, though. I don't trust him.
You don't trust him? Oh,
He's got his road guard belt, man.
That's to hold his cyber whistle, duh.
That's fun. Hey, what's going on, Spence, Tara, and everybody else? What's going on?
Hey, how you doing?
All right, a little tired, but I'm okay. I'll survive. Listen, I got a quick question. The first one is, well, I got two questions. Spence, when are you gonna give me some of those pills, the ones you were taking today? That's my
Oh,
first
the
question.
sleeping pills?
Yes, man.
I only
really
use
need
them
those.
for extreme circumstances of OCD and obsession with market patterns. So
So the other question is, when do you think the actual pounds will hit?
I think we're in it. I think you're seeing it. You're waiting for serious price action, but the actual pounce is already happening or happened. The
It's just
events.
it's just not reflecting on the price as soon as we would like to, right? Is that the thing?
Yeah, I'm telling everybody, 2023 is going to be the absolute golden age for AMC, Highcroft, all this. All the catalysts are leading up to pulling us out of this manipulated market. There's going to be some type of flash crash between now and the end of midterms, but you're going to see a market recovery in the fact that the House and the Senate are probably going to flip, and I don't care what political side you are or not or whatever.
Right,
But if conservatives take back over, Republicans take back over the House and Senate, and Pelosi's gone, they're immediately going to start back up energy production, which is going to help our market considerably, because with fuel cost reductions, you're going to have immediate product cost reductions, because that's where it's hitting everybody in the pocketbook. When fuel goes up, it costs more to produce, it costs more to ship, all of that. So,
because you know what I've been thinking though, right? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
I've been thinking that the pounds would come in the form of Adam Aron putting out a tweet as far, regarding all these failed to delivers and the 1-on-1 dividend and stuff like that, and that would kind of trigger the squeeze or whatever. I mean, I don't know if that would happen. Do you think that will happen soon, or
keep in mind, he tweeted about brokers not doing the right thing.
Yeah.
He tweeted about strange volume inconsistencies between APE and AMC, which really shouldn't even exist. We already know the prices are off. It's a 1-to-1. It's a split. They should be running at the same price.
Yeah.
We also are hearing news about all the DRS shares in GameStop. And after Adam Aron tweeted all that, guess the news we got today and yesterday? DOJ short selling probe going on against Amazon, JP Morgan. That's everything we've been talking about. So Adam Aron can't come out and just say, yeah, we proved it, there's synthetic shorts, and disrupt the ongoing DOJ investigation. The fact that they are looking into Amazon tells me everything I've been saying about Amazon using funds to manipulate companies and gain market share is probably true. So I think the pounce worked. I think we're in it. I think it's just going to take a little bit more time, which honestly just gives retail time to load up more on cheap shares, in my opinion, anyways.
Right. All right. Yeah, those were my questions. The last thing is, I just want to thank each and every one of you guys that are putting crazy amounts of information out there. For this past year, I've been learning a lot, sitting in the sidelines, listening to the space calls, learning as much as I can. And, that's a lot of work, man. Doing all this research, it's a lot of fucking work. And, I don't think people realize how much, work that is. And I just wanted to give you guys credit for that. So, all right. And that's about it. Have a good night, everybody.
You too, man.
All right.
I had a question for you. Are you there?
Yep.
Okay. So ComputerShare sent everybody a check for any fractional shares of APE they were supposed to get, because we know there wasn't supposed to be any fractional shares of APE. So you got cash in lieu. But I got a $1.03 dividend check for my AMC shares. I don't know if anybody else noticed that, but if they did in fact issue a 1 cent dividend for your AMC shares, only certain people who held proper AMC shares got it. Has anybody seen this or heard of this?
I haven't, and I haven't received my check, but I also moved, so it might be in route or something to me. Yeah, I mean, the most simplest explanation to me would seem that had to do with the counting of how many shares you had in the ape carryover, but I haven't heard anybody else talk about that or seen it as of yet, so I don't know.
Huh. Either way, if anybody does have DRS shares, you should have a check in the mail from ComputerShare with the AMC logo on it. Don't throw it away. There's a check inside that you can cash and put in your account. So,
well, look forward to possibly getting that, and then putting that towards some more ape.
Yeah,
that's one thing I haven't followed up with. Initially, the very week of the dividend, you couldn't buy ape through ComputerShare.
Hey, before you cash it, make copies of the check. All right.
I'm wondering if they've changed that, and that was at the behest of AMC, I guess, or per their rules. Like, you were allowed to buy it from obviously any brokerage, but you couldn't actually buy more shares through ComputerShare at the time, the very week of. I have not followed up with them on that to see if that's changed, if that policy has changed, or if AMC is giving them the green light now, or what's going on with that.
So yeah, Mike, go ahead, Pete. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I hope everybody understands. I don't know how long, Spence, you've been at it, whatever. I've been at it a long time. I've been part of IPOs, whatever. I'm not going to talk about my history, but I hope people understand that all this shit that's fucked up with ape is so ridiculous. It's as if our stock market and all these people have never issued a fucking security before. This is a simple preferred issue. This should literally have been done. No biggie, no problem. There should have been no problems letting people buy, sell. This should have all been in people's accounts on that day. It's been done tens of thousands of times before in the stock market, whether it's a regular equity, whether it's a preferred security. This is not the first fucking rodeo. So all this stuff that people, the baseline should have been, it's in your account on Sunday and no problems. There should have been no halts. There should have been none of it. None of it. It should have been issued to firms in Germany and whatever. People all over the world should have said, oh, look at that. We got my shares. We're good to go. So anything else is such fucking nonsense. I'm trying to think of an analogy of just what a shit show this is. It's literally like somebody working in an ice cream shop not being able to put a they're clogging the system. And the gentleman before that asked, like, why aren't we seeing the reaction? It's because they've got every tool of their whatever, and they're pulling everything out. They're pulling everything out of their ass. Fails to deliver. They're this, or you can't buy it. You can't do options. You can't do it. They're literally pulling everything to stop this when it's a simple preferred security. It should have been 2 scoops of ice cream. That's it. It should have been easy. Sorry.
One thing I never understood is how they were able to put options on a stock that still hadn't had its shares delivered to everybody. That's pretty crazy and corrupt. And then they yank them away.
Find out who pulled that, and that would tell a very interesting story.
Well, I'll tell you what, as soon as the brokers announced that you wouldn't get ape until 7 days later, I immediately threw the red flag, blew the whistle. I said broker delays and dividend issuance is going to be how they try to work their way out of it. Because the 7 days that the brokers had the shares or didn't gave time for redistribution between different brokers to meet their requirements. That's why ape landed on the threshold list so quick. Because immediately from day one, there was failure to delivers on it. How they got off, more than likely, I'm guessing they found a way to borrow AMC stock to clear their ape FTDs, which will probably be the next thing that's going to be in the news.
But that, you're saying what I'm saying, which is all this shenanigans for a simple preferred security tells you all you need to know, that the die is cast, the stone has been dropped in the pebble. The toothpaste is out of the tube. And when Spence said, well, it might be 2023, he's dead right. It could take time for this to just ferment in the system and gradually just erode and corrode it, and it blows apart.
I almost guarantee you Adam Aron has cease and desist and hush orders on his desk from multiple entities right now, which was why he was so quiet about ape for the past 2 to 3 weeks. He issued it. He had the legal right to. It did what it was supposed to do. And now they have the hashtag or the quotation, reliable data they needed to show synthetics, which was his entire 2022 annual talking point. I can't talk about any synthetics or naked shorts that may or may not exist. We don't have reliable data on that right now, but I can talk to you about failure to delivers and that we talked with the NYSE and plan to do so again in the future. Something is coming on the back of ape. I guarantee it.
Hey, Spence, Pete, really quick. I want to introduce Robbie. I just received your DM, and I think you wanted to chime in regarding when we were talking about movies in theaters. So I wanted you to get an opportunity to speak. If you were waiting, just go for it.
Yeah, that's Venom. He's the one that was coming in telling us about ticket prices and stuff like 6 months ago. I've been like missing the crap out of this guy.
No, I'm not talking about Venom. I'm talking about Robbie.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I mean, I want everybody, of course, to have a chance, but I was reading DMs from Robbie, so wanted to give him a chance. You have to, I don't know if you've been on a space before, but you have to unmute to be able to be heard by us.
You have to blow your whistle.
So
you know what?
There we go.
All those Tara, everything that Disney is doing, but why are they directly, like, instead of putting the movie first in the theater, which should be done, why are they putting it directly to streaming? That is going to be a big blow if they keep doing that. If they put it in the movies theaters first they should do that. Then they can put it out on a stream on Disney Plus. Disney Plus, I never heard of it, but a lot of these movies that are being around are amazing. But not only that, you know what makes me mad, Tara, is when movie theaters don't offer accessibility to people with special needs, especially the blind, because the blind have to rely on someone to describe to them what's happening in the movie, not when you have audio descriptive movies or TV programs. That makes a difference. And movie theaters don't. I went to a local movie theater, and my mom and I asked someone there, "Do you offer it?" They said no, and I was ready to give it to them, but I wrote to them I wrote to one of the movie theaters on Facebook where I live, and then someone wanted to speak to me about it.
Let me ask you, Robbie, have you been to an AMC theater, or was this a different theater chain?
Yes. Well, I've been to a theater in St. Laurent, a different theater chain with mom and dad. They have to be the ones to tell me what's happening in the movie, and I would rather have something where you put the headphones on, you press a button, and you can get the audio description.
So let me tell you, Robbie, at AMC theaters, now it does say for all movies at AMC locations, they offer assistive listening devices. So I don't know if that, is what would constitute. And Really quick, I just want to let everybody here know that Robbie's coming up from personal experience, correct? Because
Yeah,
you in fact are blind, but you love the movies, correct?
I love the movies. I listen to them on Netflix and Disney Plus with the audio description. Some of them don't have it, which is weird, but which is interesting. But still, some of them some of them do. And I listen to the movies with audio description, even if I have to turn the function on for
Right.
to
So
enjoy
let me
it.
just tell you really quick, Robbie, at AMC theaters, they give you a device and you take it in with you into the theater and you put it in your cup holder, and it allows you to adjust everything to what your needs are. So it's pretty. I've always thought that was very special and really neat that they do that, for moviegoers, because no one should be prevented from being able to go enjoy a movie. Nobody.
No, and Tara, you should see what I do, because Tara, I write about certain things that are not accessible. I write to companies, or I have someone help me send off an email to them, and then and one time something did happen, which I was happy about. So I once wrote to a company whose app wasn't fully accessible, and then had one of my friends, email them. Next thing I knew, they redid their app and they launched a new one, fully accessible, all because of that.
Wow, that's amazing, Robbie. And you don't even probably know how many lives you're impacting and affecting in such a positive way by, using your own voice to bring attention to that. So that's why I wanted to give you the floor and let you come up and share.
Tara, can you give me? Tara, can you follow me on Twitter?
I follow you. I already do.
Yeah. That's cool. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Because Tara, I also do something for an organization for special needs called the Friendship Circle. I'm raising money for them. They help special needs kids make friends through their programs and through volunteer visits. And they hold an annual walk, and I usually go every year, but lately I couldn't go because it was cold. But I'm hoping this year I go, and every time I make the top 10, I win an award from them for fundraising.
That's amazing, Robbie. I would love to talk more with you about this, and I just appreciate you coming up and sharing your voice, to the hundreds of people who are here listening and understanding where you're coming from. Because, unless you live with any sort of, anything, you don't understand. And I don't know, I just think it's really important that people like you are able to come up and share your voice and the things you do to help enact change and make things better. So I appreciate you, Robbie.
Robbie, what's your Twitter?
My phone speaks, Tara. My phone speaks. So whenever someone writes to me, it's going to read it back to me.
Perfect. That's what I was wondering. That's like magic, because I was curious how are you responding and reading my DMs? That is just amazing. I mean, you got to love technology. That's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I got into that at a young age, and it has changed my life completely. Actually, Apple has changed my life because of everything's built in, and now there's tons of apps for the blind.
Thank you again, Robbie. I'm going to be in contact with you in DMs, and then I would like to help with some of the things that you're doing and fundraising that you're doing.
For sure. Oh yeah.
I think another amazing thing that we could do while we're on this topic is, a gift card giveaway for this specific fundraising that you're doing, Robbie, to allow people to go to the movies, but have that accessibility at the same time, which I know AMC does. So it's a way for me to give back and also support the company that I'm, invested in. So let's get together and put our minds together, Robbie.
Yes, for sure. yeah, listen, and I always tell the workers where they are, where I go about what I'm doing. Well, like I tell them about like I tell them because they don't, because if they ever take the kids to a movie, the friendship circle, if they ever try to do that, I'm gonna tell them to look into one that has the listening devices, or give them a call before you go and ask them, do you offer it before you even get out there? Good.
All right, guys, I think we can go ahead and start getting back on the topic. I know I kind of cut Spence off there for a second. I just wanted to make sure that while we had Robbie in here, I got to speak with him and hear about his experience. So, Spence, Pete, you guys take it away.
Yeah, if you guys do a fundraiser, let me know. I'll kick in for sure.
Oh, I know you will. And to be honest, I know Mark's been like such a AMC CEO Adam hater, but I know for sure he's the type of person who would love to help out with a cause like this as well.
Absolutely.
So he'll be one of the first people I reach out to.
He needs to do it to satisfy his guilty short seller conscience. That's what I tell him.
That's what I'm gonna say.
No.
Gosh, we're evil. But no, it's for a good cause, and that's what's important, you know, and that's what, I mean, this is the whole thing with these spaces and just how amazing they are, is like how you just never know who you're going to come across, who you're going to get an opportunity to speak with. And that honestly was such a privilege to have Robbie reach out to me, hear our conversation about movie going, and your frustration, Spence, with them releasing Hocus Pocus is what brought him in to the fold in the conversation. So he has that same frustration as far as streaming.
That's what I'm saying. How, one, Bette Midler belongs on the big screen. Two, it's Hocus Pocus right around October. Why would you not put that in theater? You're out of your freaking mind. You're going to lose millions in revenue and piss off multiple fans. Three, it's a perfect opportunity after a Q3 quarter to stimulate people for seasonal movies. So I don't understand what's going on there. I think maybe they'll, now that I've tweeted at Adam twice about it, they'll magically drop it in theaters for special Disney Plus Day, maybe. Anything I tweet seems to come to pass. It like materializes out of thin air. So I'm wondering if that's going to happen. But I did pin a tweet to the top. So if you guys want to retweet it, that we get Hocus Pocus in theaters, I would appreciate that.
Hey, Tara, do you know whatever happened to Manjeet? He kind of disappeared out of nowhere.
Who?
Manjeet, the really nice Indian dude. I think his name was Sugar. I think it was.
Oh yeah, he started a new account. He might be in here. I don't know. He might be in here. I'm not sure. He's not up as a listener though.
Yeah, I haven't heard him in a while, man. I mean, I don't know.
He just taking time off.
Energy. This is energy on Spaces, but yeah, I think a few people were kind of getting to him, to be honest. And sometimes a break is in order. But he's been actively tweeting and stuff.
And he works a lot too, and he's got kids. So I when I see people disappear, I always check on them. But I understand that they have multiple kids, families, work, all that. So he's just taking a break.
Yeah, I saw him in a space. He didn't talk last night, but I was in a space that he was in last night, and he was just there listening. Probably, like you said, probably driving or hanging out with his family or whatever. But I've seen him around, so he's with us.
So Robbie just messaged me, DM'd me, and told me that friendship.ca is the website where people can make a donation. You search, it says Robbie Zunenschein. That's VUNENSHINE. So that's just something to keep in mind. Maybe I can make a tweet about it or retweet something of his, and we can put something together. Something beneficial for him and his cause, and also AMC as well. And what a great way for us to be able to give back.
I just accidentally removed Forlano. Twitter needs to fix that. because I went to add him as a speaker, and then it said it wasn't a speaker option anymore. And when I clicked, it just said removed. I was like, you got to be kidding me.
So I just saw that FX has just tweeted that the Japanese futures are pointing to an opening down 1,000 plus points.
Yeah, along with our
what percent is that
price with our price action today? You know, one thing that I was looking at was the U.S. dollar, which did rise, which that meant that the Japanese yen kind of went right back up again. It had eased off for a couple days, but it just went back up, and I think it was trading at 144 again. And you know, it's significant in that I think like the of the past like 25 years or something, the highest it's ever been is 147. So we're getting pretty close to that level where you know, if it gets past that, things could get a little bit interesting as far as the Japanese. But at the same time, that also, you know, on the flip side, as far as the inflationary pressures, that should be deflationary. Anything that we're buying from Japan, we're able to buy it, you know, 40% discount right now compared to 6 months ago, which is kind of crazy to think about. Like our inflation, we're complaining about 8%. Can you imagine 40% inflation against your currency? That's kind of insane in 6 months period.
I hope all the cute Japanese girls move to America.
I'm down for that.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Oh my gosh, long on Japanese girls. What is going on? Maybe I should change the title of this space. I don't know. This is getting weird.
Spencer needs a date. I'm too busy making proper trades. Oh, I was going to say too, with all this market downward talk, if you're not going to play the downside of the market, I personally like to keep cash on hand to try to find the bottom. You know what I mean? But just holding long the entire time is a fool's game. Keep your core positions, but if you don't see right now, I bought a little more ape today on the down 5%. I won't buy any tomorrow because if there is a crash, I'm going to get another discount. If there's not, I'm going to go up and I'm going to make money. So keeping cash on hand is not a bad strategy. You don't always have to be 100% invested with every dollar you have. That's if you're not going to play the downside. So if we have a flash crash, I sold my put today. I made 66%. If we have a flash crash tomorrow or coming up, I've got cash in my account to buy the dip, which alleviates me not being on that downside anymore, which I may re-enter the downside. I'm not sure. Cash is king.
Indeed, cash is king.
Man, what a day. I'm still trying to get my order to go through for my cyber whistle. Were you able to?
And city and phone number and everything. So I'm going to call them tomorrow. I'm going to sit and wait and see if I get it. I assume someone at Tesla is smart enough to go, well, he lives in Albuquerque, New Mexico with a U.S. area code. I'm guessing he's probably from the United States. I hope.
Does it have to be like the exact amount of Dogecoin? I think I might have been a little bit over.
I bought mine with cash.
How? It made me do Dogecoin. How did you do cash?
I went to the Tesla website and I logged into my account and they charged my Amex. Maybe they are going to take that, buy Dogecoin, add on a fee, and then use it. I don't know, but it went through. I've got a receipt.
Yeah. This sucks. I don't know why it's not working. Oh well, I'll
Long
figure it
on
out.
Dogecoin.
Yeah, I have a bit of Dogecoin. Elon Musk, if you hear this, just go ahead and pump that real quick. Thanks.
GST %. I'm wondering if you pay with cash, is that a Dogecoin service tax. What's going on there? I don't know. I tried to buy it. We'll see if it shows up. You know what I'm never going to do?
Who has that round of applause? Was that you?
Matthew.
That's amazing.
That whistle is never going to touch anybody's lips ever. It's going to sit in that box for 50 years.
It's a celibate whistle.
Yes. It's my morning after whistle.
Oh my God.
Probably inappropriate.
Very. It's technically after hours. It's 5:02. We can be a little on the dark side here.
I wasn't going to drink anything. I've been like 3 days now. And then my neighbor brings me over a pack of White Claws and says, "Thanks for letting me use your fob to get into the pool." I'm like, "Oh, Barry White Claws." Like, never going to live that one down.
I love me some seltzer beers.
Oh, heck yeah. I love the virgin ones with no alcohol, whatever those are called. But Spence, really quick, I actually did find these like canned waters. I know it sounds really weird, but they're amazing. They have like a mango flavored one, and it's almost as good as a White Claw. But Spence, I wanted to know if you wanted to get into HYMC discussion. I was just curious, with their numbers. Matthew, I love that. I freaking love that. Please, do that every time Spence is, dropping a bomb. You got to do that or something. But, Spence, I really want you to tell us what those numbers mean that CEO Adam tweeted. Pretty please.
Yeah, so grams per ton, G divided by T, G/T. That's the amount of gram of material of precious metal you're going to get from a ton of ore. So when they say the intercepts they just talked about with their drill core samples has 126 grams per ton of silver, every ton of ore they process, they're going to get 126 grams of silver, which is amazing. Now, keep in mind, back in 2008, before silver was worth anything to mine, Highcroft, as they were then, was finding intercepts. This is Midas mineralization quartz vein, full vein intercepts of 6,208 grams per ton of silver. Meaning basically, the deeper you go underground, you find these veins of sulfuric materials and whatever you want to talk about, where they come from volcanic activity, boiling water, stuff like that, and they distribute through the earth, and it's always around quartz. They found these super highly condensed mineralized veins of silver and gold. So the samples they're getting into now are exactly where they needed to know to drill in that vortex region based on 2008 data when it wasn't economically worth it to mine that silver. The truth is of it, yeah, they're finding more gold than they expected too. So I fully expect silver by 2023 to be at $30. Keep in mind too, this was the fastest from conception to execution exploration project I've ever even heard of. She talked about it, and not even a month or two later, they were drilling, and they've already got their core samples back. So the difference between Highcroft now and then, back in 2016 even, was the company was only looking for soluble, cyanide soluble gold. That means gold that can basically be dissolved out of the ore on their leaching pads. They weren't even looking for actual physical mineralization of gold and silver. That's why they announced probably 4 months ago that they're going to go back and reclaim all the classified waste ore and reprocess it in their new mill. Back then, too, they didn't have a mill. They had to take the material off site, which was a major cost. And the difference now between their processing is instead of using leaching pads, which you basically dump sulfuric acid and stuff like that, whatever hazmat they use on this ore, this processed ore, and it leaches down into these pads,
Instead of doing that, which is super expensive, they're using what's called POX pressurization. It's a high pressurization process. It distributes silver, gold, and uranium during the processing event at like a quarter of the cost of what the leach pads do and way more efficient. So everything that's going on with Highcroft right now is setting up for a big 2023 rally. When they announce that they are again mining, you're going to see 2 or 3 different gold companies. I'm pretty convinced it's probably Barrick. They're going to come out and try to make an offer on Highcroft. Whether they take it and they sell out and we all make a ton of money, I don't know. Or if they decide, hey, let's just keep mining and do this ourselves, is going to be up to the board and the vote. So basically that's it though. Technical studies are about to be done on the mill and the POX processing. Their new core samples are coming back, or showing them exactly where the high mineral deposits are for the gold and silver, so they know where to dig. They start up mining, they dig it out, they keep finishing their leaching pads, which they've got until 2023 or 2024. But now they also have the POX processor, so their production is going to literally double. They're going to be doing 2 or 3 times the amount of gold and silver in 2023 than they are now. That's basically it. This is straight up Nintendo sound effects.
It's the soundboard. I just found it out.
Yeah, I'm personally, this is not financial advice. It's my own opinion. I'm going to be buying Highcroft under $1 in small lots, like I have been all the way through up until 2023 when they make that announcement. Once it's over $1.20, I'll probably stop buying and I'll just wait for the rip. But we already saw $3 once on just hype. Just imagine when they start producing a profit because gold and silver goes through the roof. The economical inconsistencies between Russia and China and the rest of the world are starting to show its face. So is that all you wanted, Tara?
Yes, yes, yes. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, that was good stuff.
This is what happens. Tara invites everybody to a space call and brings me and swing up to co-host and disappears. I know she's doing. She's talking to Elon Musk right now about her cyber whistle.
Yeah, I'm trying to ask him, like, why'd you take my money and I didn't get to blow on my whistle? Like, what is going on? I want my whistle.
Maybe he's.
When do these things ship out? In like 2 to 4 weeks or something?
Said September 13th on mine.
Oh my gosh, this is not fair.
Maybe he's going to deliver your cyber whistle in my cyber truck. And then you guys can have the baby and then I can store it.
Oh my goodness. I don't know if I signed up for this. Like, I don't know. I don't know about the whole baby thing. That's a little bit, a little bit scary. Who's going to be the stand-in nanny dad for Elon while he's busy working?
I've been letting you think you're in charge this whole time, Tara, but do you feel in charge?
Oh my God, is that your Sith voice?
Oh, yes. Elon's bringing you a cyber whistle in my cyber truck. We will need it.
I'm getting annoyed, though, because the order isn't working, but maybe he just has a ton of people trying to order one of these whistles or something. I sent the Doge and nothing's happening, but the Doge is gone. I'm like, was it not enough because there's a fee or something?
It might be taking a minute for the blockchain computation.
So much for that T0. No, I'm just kidding.
I know when you transfer cryptos or buy with cryptos, it takes a couple minutes for the. It's been so long. As soon as Ken Griffin said crypto, I got the fuck out. So
the block has to I have no idea how long the block timing is with Doge. I'm a little bit more familiar with Loopring because of its involvement in GameStop, and I think that block tends to be like every 8 to 15 minutes, depends on what's going on. Like I said, I have no idea how fast the Doge blocks go.
So I'm looking at my order. Says your Tesla shop order invoice for your Tesla whistle is in place. Oh,
they're actually going to put the whistle in your Cybertruck, so you'll get it when the Cybertruck arrives, Spence.
Listen to this. Tesla Motors Singapore Private Limited. I bought my whistle from Tesla in Singapore. I don't know how this is even happening, but I paid with my Amex, so my credit card's probably getting ready to get canceled for fraud. Oh, geez. I'm going to just wait and see if it shows up. But apparently...
This is crazy. This is crazy.
Did they also ask you for your social security number, Spence, and
nope.
Your mother's maiden name?
This is the Tesla website. I'm on my account because I have my Cybertruck pre-order. But apparently, if you're buying outside the country, it's just going to take regular currency and not Dogecoin.
Were you using a VPN or something, and that's why it was trying to put you in Singapore?
It says Tesla Motors Singapore on my credit card. Yep, and it's on the Tesla site. I've got my invoice, and it was under my user account. So I don't know. Hopefully they ship it. We'll see. It's going to take a week or two to get here, but it's got a shipping number on it, and
you'll just have to blow your whistle if you don't get one.
Sold too. Oh, this is weird. Maybe I should try to cancel it.
That's so crazy. I don't know. Yeah, I'm having major issues. Maybe other people had success ordering it. I'm bummed. I want my whistle. Anyway, I don't know if you guys want to keep this thing going, if you want to talk about something else, or if you guys have things you got to do today.
I will just say that I'm extremely excited for the Oppenheimer movie in 2023 and the new trailer for the movie Babylon, which is about California and Hollywood with Brad Pitt. What's her name? Harley Quinn. Shit, what's her name?
Margot Robbie.
Yeah, the cast in this movie looks spectacular. It looks like it's going to be an absolute blast. 2023 is going to be the biggest box office that we've had in over 20 years.
Margot Robbie's my secret crush. Yeah. I'm gonna follow. I think I need to find her on Twitter. I don't think she has Twitter actually. I think I've looked like a stalker. But if anyone knows how to get a hold of her,
Look at you. You worked with Elon.
Yeah, I mean, twice.
Now we're all getting trucks. It's good.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, as long as he responds to my DM.
Who said lightning doesn't strike twice?
Yeah, I know, right? That's why I know that the next phase, the next squeeze is about to happen too. See? Is this like a thunderstorm? What was that one? Was that lightning?
Thunderstorm.
Oh my goodness.
I was going to say, that sounded like a gusher to me.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yes. That's exactly what a gusher sounds like. But yeah, I don't know. I'm excited. I think that it's kind of cool on like days like today.
All right, everybody. I'm going to call it quits for the evening. I'm going to go have a drink and relax and chill. I'll see you tomorrow, Monday morning or Wednesday morning. see what the market does. It looks like futures are going a little green. We might find some relief. Hopefully we'll get some APE and AMC gains back here. But, you know, we ended up a little bit green in the after hours. So y'all have a good time. Have a good night. Thanks for coming. Please like and subscribe. Share the channel. Again, it helps push us out into the YouTube algorithms further so more and more people can join. Pam the Trader, thank you for coming and moderating. All my moderators, I appreciate you so much.